What is happening out there, Roto Scouts baseball fans? Happy midweek, gang. Happy hump day, as they say. Wednesday show. Welcome, welcome. Good to see Monty in the chat. Happy Wacky Wednesday, Monty says. Oh, let's go win something. I love it. Saying, obviously, Lennon Sosa and a couple other right-handed White Sox bats will receive AL MVP votes, but shouldn't they also be in consideration on the Heisman Trophy? Let's get some Heisman votes for them. I like it. Solid campaign. And break up the White Sox. Ridiculous slate last night. That got ugly in a hurry. We've got another ugly one to deal with. 10 games on deck on a Wednesday night. A little bit of afternoon baseball going on, but big slate on a Wednesday and a really ugly pitching board. Should be a fun one to go through. Gonna just kind of dive right in, starting a little later than I intended to originally. Just got a little sidetrack through the day. We've got a couple great options up top. I mean, Fromber and Sonny Gray going against Colorado and Pittsburgh. You can't really ask for much better than that up there. I think Eric Lauer's at least interesting option, fairly priced, if nothing else. You have Shohei Ohtani as just a pitcher today on both sites. Not 1-1, just a pitcher. Don't have Ohtani as a bat, but he is working against the ridiculously overpriced Nick Lodolo a few spots further down the board as a hitter, still in that Dodgers lineup, presumably, even though he'll be pitching. I think Lodolo at 82 on DraftKings, totally fine, but 10-4 on FanDuel, tied with Fromber for the most expensive pitcher, going up against the Dodgers, who've largely killed left-handed pitching. I don't get that at all. That's a 6-inning projection on Lodolo. I didn't shortchange him or anything. That's just where he comes up. I do not like that on FanDuel. I think he's much more playable. We'll get back into the pitching slate. We'll talk through some of the Nolan McLeans of the world. I think he's a little high priced there as well. Maybe Quinn Priester, some of these garbage options down the bottom of the board. But you can see how ugly this gets in an awful hurry. A lot of teams in play for big nights against some of these just low-end pitchers. 8 games here. Pink can wave back at you, buddy. Appreciate you. Tall to God. What's going on, guys? The website, if you're unfamiliar, is rotoscouts.com. If you are familiar, but you haven't been subscribed lately, no time like the present to come back. Football starting up in not this weekend, but the following weekend. And then we'll be covering both sports, every main slate for baseball all the way, every single football game. We've got hockey and basketball right around the corner. Running a promo code to start the football season. Also still running for another few days. The 5Me promo for a $5 weekly plan, but the new one is a $15 first month, so 33% off your first month when you sign up at Rotoscouts with promo code KICKOFF. That amounts to 50 cents a day. 30 days has September, blah, 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 blah. What was the Homer Simpson quote? 30 days has September, all the rest I can't remember, something along those lines. So 50 cents a day for football and baseball on a monthly plan through the month of September with promo code KICKOFF, all in caps like you see it at the bottom of the screen. Don't think you can beat that. If you can, let me know. We'll do it Crazy Eddie style. Anyway, let's get into the run board. Check out our guys over at acemine.io, by the way. I haven't been mentioning them enough lately. Sims, optimizers, excellent pricing. Promo code RotoScouts should still get you 20% off your first month. I think they still run a 3-day free trial as well, just if you want to get behind the paywall and check out their product. Definitely going to be important going back into that for football season. Starting things off up top, the Twins at the Blue Jays. Simeon Woods-Richardson pushing a pretty big total toward the Blue Jays, 5.20 runs. We've got a number of teams above 5 runs again today. Some solid spots of dark green. Again, largely favoring the home teams. It's very similar setup to yesterday's slate. But Woods-Richardson, super gettable for that high-quality Blue Jays lineup. Just a 3.90 total for the Twins going up against Eric Lauer, the lefty. I think there's definite upside there. He was number 3, number 4 on the board as we were just looking at it. A couple shorter starts in his last few. He's finished the 6th several times this season, but hasn't been overly reliable for it. Made a few bulk relief appearances earlier in the year. Has largely been used as a starter for the last 2 months and change, though. Handful of strikeouts on deck. Good ability to limit runs. Not a lot of high-quality righty bats in this current version of the Twins lineup. So I like the spot. Taijuan Walker on the mound for the Phillies, definitely a target for some high-quality Mets bats at a 4.75 implied total. And then the rookie Nolan McLean making his third start. First two have been pretty terrific. 8 strikeouts in the first one. Did walk 4 in that game, but only 2 hits allowed to the Mariners over 5 1/3. Followed that up with a 7-inning game against the Braves. 2 earned runs on 4 hits, 7 strikeouts. Gave up a home run, but I mean, very, very solid start. You saw that he was already priced into the 9s, though, and that is a very, very tough Phillies opponent. 3.84 feels a little bit low for the Phils. Might want to consider some of their bats if we can pick them off at low ownership, especially up top of that lineup. Ryan Bergert on the bump going up against those upstart White Sox. You can see the Vegas totals really aren't budging. They're staying in the low 4s. There's only so much we can do projection-wise around a collection of what really are, a few young players on the rise, surely, and then mostly garbage. We've also got no more Lubob. He's on the IL now. It's problematic. It's really, really problematic because they keep pulling it off. They keep getting away with some decent totals. But Bergert, talented enough to get through them. Been pitching pretty well. Exactly 2 earned runs. 1 or 2 earned runs in each of his starts, from his 6 starts since July 11th. Some varied innings there, but the last 4 he's pitched into the 6th. Couple decent strikeout games, 7 strikeouts against these White Sox, 8 strikeouts against the Twins. Faced these White Sox on the 17th, kept them to 1 earned run on 6 hits over 5 1/3, struck out 7. The earned run came on a solo homer. Good enough, but again, frisky White Sox team. Going the other way, it's Aaron Savali, big-time target for some Royals bats at a 4.52 implied total. Ryan Nelson, a little bit of a wild card on this slate, I would say. Brewers obviously good on the other side, 4.56 and 4.57 implied total against. Definitely pushes Nelson's projection down the board a little bit, but he's a capable pitcher. He's a decent strikeout arm. He's able to beat good teams like this, but he's also very capable of giving up a solid handful of runs here. So nothing safe about Ryan Nelson, but I do think he's available on the pitching board. That said, Brewers going back against him, definitely in play. Quinn Priester, somewhat similar. Honestly, that's a good Diamondbacks lineup on the other side. Just a 4.03 implied total. Priester has had some very good starts throughout the season, but he's also hit a few bumps in the road. A couple shorter outings in his last few as well. Strikeout numbers have come down a little bit over this last stretch. So not a pushover spot for him either. I would consider bats on either side of that one, but both pitchers definitely in play from the mid board. Pirates and the Cards. Carmen Ledzinski getting a start here. He hasn't thrown a lot of pitches lately. He did get out to 4 innings against the Cubs back on the 17th. It's right around where I've got him. I don't think we're getting much more than that Adam Ledzinski here. And it's just not a pitcher we would want to go to anyway. 4.23 implied total for the Cards. If you want to take some upside Cards bats, that's perfectly fine, but they just kind of hit squarely in the middle as usual. 3.36 implied total for the Pirates on the other side, going up against Sonny from near the top of the board. One of easily the top 2 pitchers on this slate. Definitely fire away with him. Every now and again, some of the better Pirates bats can get a little frisky. We do have O'Neal Cruz back in that lineup, but low total, good pitcher on the mound. I lean strongly towards Sonny while saying maybe here and there you can pick off a Pirates contrarian stack. Jack Kachanowicz on the bump for the Angels, going up against Jacob Latz. Definitely seeing some upside for bats in that one on both sides. The Angels hopefully sneak through and actually come through this time, get them at a little bit lower ownership and pick off some pretty significant upside for power and for run creation there. 4.10 implied total, maybe a little bit light for them. 5.0 on the other side for the Rangers makes a ton of sense against Kachanowicz. They're one of the top stacks of the day, in my opinion. Chase Dollander, also a little bit of a wild card here. I took the home run pick of the day from the Astros. It's the guy you think it probably is. 5.12 implied total for them going up against Dollander. He's had some very, very bumpy starts along the way. He's also had a couple good ones here and there. The good ones have more come on the road, as one would expect from a young pitcher who pitches his home games at Coors Field. 3 starts back at St. Louis, 5 innings, just 1 earned run, 5 hits, 5 strikeouts, 3 walks. It's an adequate day. It'd definitely hurt you if you're rostering the Astros, which I think is the bigger part of that story. I definitely want some Astros, but I'm cautious about it while remaining enthusiastic, optimistic. I do have a little bit of respect for Dollander. He is a talented young pitcher. Framber Valdez on the other side of that one, top of the board, easy to get to. Rockies at a 3.0 implied total against one of the best run limiters and power limiters in all of baseball. Already mentioned Lodolo just ridiculously high priced on FanDuel to go up against that Dodgers team. Don't like it at all. They're pulling a 4.93 implied total. That should be a glaring warning sign there. At the DraftKings price, he's much more playable, but it still doesn't look good. Dodgers bats against definitely in play. And then it's Shohei Ohtani on the bump for the Dodgers going up against these Reds. 3.67 implied total for however long he's going to be in there. He still hasn't finished the fifth inning. He pitched into the fifth 2 starts ago against the Angels. Followed that one up. That was an 80 pitch game. That was his highest pitch count. Followed that one up just through 66 pitches. Only went 4, but he'd given up 5 earned runs. That was at Coors Field the last time out. So I think we've got the upside into the fifth, complete the fifth inning today. That's basically where I've got him. He projects out okay, but limited as far as what the ceiling really looks like. Cubs, Giants, solid total for the Cubbies. They're one of the top-ranked teams on the board. They're going up against Carson Whisenhunt, and then it's Colin Ray on the mound for Chicago. A little bit of upside for sure for the Giants as well. 4.1 implied total for them. So bats in that one, and then definite bats upside in the last game. There are talented pitchers going. Luis Morales has looked interesting since coming up, one of the top athletics prospects, especially when it comes to pitching. So a fairly significant young arm there, but that ballpark works significantly against him. The Tigers lineup works very much against him. Casey Mize is on the mound on the other side of that one. He's hit a little bit of a slowdown outside of a weird spike 2 starts back against Minnesota. He struck out 10, gave up 4 earned runs in that game on only 4 hits, went 6 1/3. Prior to that, he'd given up runs. The strikeouts had kind of vanished around the edges. Had a very strong year overall, and the numbers still look pretty solid. But I question the upside in this ballpark against that Athletics lineup. Both teams pulling a 5+ total, 5.50 for the Tigers, 5.11 for the Athletics. Both teams up toward the top of the stacks board, or the 2 top teams on the stacks board, I should say. Monty saying there's a drinking game for Framber starts. Take a shot every time he starts laughing on the mound after unfortunate events. Just got to pray he's on his meds today. He's a complete head case. Yeah, he does have up and down starts for sure. As John Hans is asking, what do you make of Framber's bad starts? It's happenstance. It's a very good pitcher. We've got ample evidence over years, unless there's some injury or something like that we don't know about. Could you argue that it's a little bit of a slowdown period? Sure, maybe he's going through a little bit of a dead arm thing, but there hasn't been any reporting on that. 7 earned runs over 5 at Detroit in the last one. That came against a very good team. 4 earned runs over 5 2/3 against the Yankees. That came against a very good team. Walked 4 that day, only struck out 1. There's your problem. Didn't give up a home run in that game. Over that stretch, he's only given up 1 home run in the 4 games. The other loss was to Boston. He gave up 5 earned runs, 6 total runs on 7 hits over 6 to Boston, struck out just 3, walked 1. Strikeouts have always been up and down with Framber, so I'm not really concerned there. The innings pitched are there. It's not like they're yanking him early in those games. I don't really remember the sequencing of when those runs were scored in those 3 against Baltimore, New York, the Yankees, and Boston. But again, those are high-quality teams. If he was giving up a bunch of home runs, if something for that looked weird and different from his normal output, then I'd maybe be a little bit more concerned. But he's always been a guy who can walk people. He's always been a guy who can lose a few runs here and there via some base hits, because he does give up hard hit balls. He just keeps them on such a low trajectory. So if he puts a few guys on base, then gives up a hard hit ball through the infield or on the line drive down the right field line, you're going to score some runs, right? So he can be vulnerable to runs from time to time, especially against 3 of those 4 teams are good, and the Orioles are not as bad as they seem like they've been all season long. And really, only one of those is a total meltdown. 3 earned against the Orioles, 4 earned against the Yankees is not what we're looking for DFS-wise, especially not at these prices. But I'm not freaking out about that baseball-wise. And then 7 earned runs against the Tigers. Yeah, it's a bad start. It's going to happen. You're going to have bad starts here and there. He had a 7-run day against the Cardinals all the way back in April on the 14th. But by and large, you get a lot of depth out of Framber. You get upside 4 strikeouts. He's going up against one of the highest strikeout opponents in baseball, one of the worst teams in baseball. Lowest total on the board. He takes away their one weapon, which is home run hitting. That is not a good sequencing team. They don't hit for average. They don't get on base all that well. They just have power. And if he can zip that out of the equation, yeah, top of the board, no questions. I mean, ask all the questions you want, but I have no questions for Frommer. We just, like Monty's saying, just hope he's got his head together. You know, and he can melt down, right? He puts a few guys on base via the walk, gets a bad call, somebody's on base, gives up a base hit, like I said, run scores. He is a little bit heady that way. If you're not feeling comfortable with him, you've got Sonny Gray right there at a cheaper price on both sites. That is definitely an asset going up against those Pittsburgh Pirates. Sonny can be a little bit up and down himself, but by and large, high-end strikeout pitcher going up against one of the most targetable teams, if not the most targetable team in the sport. Love the upside for Sonny from there. Eric Lauer against the Twins, solid option, 87, 8,000. Again, they don't really have major threats from the right side in this lineup. So there's upside for him. There's also some downside. You also get a little more of a likely shorter start out of Lauer than the other two. Ohtani definitely going to be capped in that 5-inning range. What kind of damage can he do against the entire bottom of the board below him and the few guys above him on this slate in 5 innings? Against that Reds team, it could be pretty significant. He's got a little bit of ceiling on top of those pretty solid projections. It's just not the most likely ceiling, right? It's a little less likely than it would otherwise be, I think, for Ohtani. But 5 innings, if he gets out to 5, you got to like it at least a little bit on, honestly, on both sides. Even at 85, you get that win bonus from him. You get the opportunity for it anyway. And I think you're okay at 85. Strikeout upside certainly there. 77 on FanDuel, I think that takes care. It's not like he's high priced. I think that takes care of the lack of the quality start. And who knows? I mean, if he blazes through that lineup, maybe you get a 6th inning. It's more about the pitch count than the inning count. But again, hasn't thrown more than 80. Berger, 85-72, different option across sites. Bumpy on FanDuel, playable, but not comfortable. Going up against that White Sox lineup, the resurgent White Sox. 72 on DraftKings, I think, is a fair and much more playable price, much more appealing price. Nelson, again, solidly in the middle of the board at 81-77, but you can see where that projection is versus the top of the board already. We cut very, very quickly from the top end through these guys. It's a super top-heavy slate. I do think Lodolo's got ceiling beyond what those projections are. I just don't know how likely he is to get there. And again, that FanDuel price, broken. 82 on DraftKings, super playable. That's fine. You can get away with that. You can get a little upside on it. 10-4 on FanDuel, I do not understand. Again, Mize just threatened by that ballpark, talented enough, but he's also seen a dip. 78 on DraftKings feels right. 91 on FanDuel feels a little bit expensive. Wouldn't knock me out of my chair if Casey had a decent day here, but it's been a bumpier ride the last month or so. I actually cut him from the Dynasty team today. He was on, or this week. He was only a $1 keeper for next year that was on the fence of whether or not he'd be kept. But I did have him on the active roster all season long. It's a painful cut, but I needed another closer. Got caught in saves and holds after Hader went down. It's killing me. Quinn Priester, 83-87, definitely playable, but high threatening lineup, kind of the same situation as Ryan Nelson, as I was saying before. Jacob Latz, I have it 4 and change here. I don't know how playable he's going to be here either. Primarily a reliever, but a couple full starts. He's made 3 actual starts on the season. Most recently on July 20th, he went 5 innings in that one. Gave up 6 hits, just 1 earned to Detroit. Struck out 3, walked 2. Prior to that was June 24th. He went 6. Gave up 2 runs, 1 hit. Struck out 4, walked 3. So he's capable of stretching out to 5, 6 on short notice. He also had a 5 2/3 inning bulk relief appearance. But primarily throughout the season, we've been dealing with an inning here, an inning there, 3 innings here, an inning there, a third of an inning. Last time out, 3 1/3. Faced 12 hitters against KC. Gave up 1 hit, struck out 4, walked 1. It's not that he's bad. It's just I don't know what we've really got on our hands here. 71-75, a few darts maybe with a little bit of ceiling from that spot. Maybe in play. Does seem like he's at least capable of finding some Ks. Faced this same Angels team in bulk relief back on the 10th of July, 3 1/3, 2 hits, 1 run, 6 strikeouts. I just definitely see plenty of upside on the other side for Angels bats. And it's basically the same deal with Texas going up against Jack Chenoweth's major upside for their bats. McClain, 9,000 on both sites. I don't know. He's been terrific in the first, too. But you're already paying a tax for it. The way this slate falls, I don't know that I need to take that. Going up against a really good Phillies lineup. Doesn't seem great. Colin Ray against the Giants. Low end. Maybe a dart at 67 on DraftKings. Don't really want him at 8,000 on FanDuel. Giants pulling a 4+ total. Morales just threatened by that ballpark. Simeon Woods Richardson is a no against Toronto. Taiwan against the Mets. Savali, Wisnund. It gets bad. Your cut line's like there. And I really don't want Luis Morales in that ballpark against Detroit. Don't really want that all that much. Don't want that at price that much. Don't want that much. Joker's here. He's not enthusiastic about the bottom of the board either. So, I mean, you could argue that Quinn Priester is the realistic cut line. And you can see that in the projections. Not a great pitching slate at all outside of a very high peak. Hit the like button, subscribe to the channel as we get into the game by game here. Reminder, if you're not looking at the bottom of the screen there, $15 monthlies, 33% off, 50 cents a day for the month of September. Between now and September 8th, the beginning of or the end of the first weekend of football. Promo code kickoff, all in caps, get you $15 for the month of September. Baseball and football are both included in that. Anything else that hits that website is also included in that. Like the video, subscribe to the channel. Links, etc. down there. Discord link, free Discord link down there. Monty saying Joker seems to be on the Brewers or Quinn Priester. He definitely agrees that the bottom of the line is Priester, though. Yeah, that is an ugly pitching slate. And again, like Priester and Nelson, I like both pitchers, but neither guy's safe in those matchups. Weather-wise, we're apparently nice days across the entire country. The only 2 notes from Roth were wind blowing out in New York in both ballparks. Nice day here. Mid-70s. So, Simeon Woods Richardson pitching to a sub 20% strikeout rate against a 10% walk, 4.24 ERA, but a 5.06 xFIP is the real number, and the ERA is not exactly good, giving up way too much premium contact. This guy's just a target for Blue Jays bats. I don't think there's any lane through which you really want to consider Woods Richardson, even 65 on DraftKings. Even as just a low-owned dart, you don't get a lot of depth of innings out of him. He's completed the 6th once in his 16 starts. Gives up a bunch of runs, and he's low strikeout even when he's having a good day. So the idea of getting any kind of significant ceiling against a super low strikeout Blue Jays team that is showing plenty of upside, a 5.20 implied total, it's just too thin. In 150 lineups on DraftKings, a dart here and there, fine. As an SP2 just on a weak board, fine, sure. But outside of that, there's really not much usability there. 7,000 on FanDuel, I don't think you touch it. Eric Lauer at 8 at 87, striking out 24.5% hitter, 7% walk rate, a 2.76 ERA, but a 4.15 xFIP. This is your real number. But he's kept guys off base very effectively in his starts this season. 88 innings, 14 starts. Did work some in some relief appearances, multiple inning relief appearances, but again, has been on a stretch of starting since June 11th. That's it's like a dozen starts. Completed the 6th several times through that stretch, got through 8 innings against Detroit back on July 24th. That was probably the best start. 6 strikeouts, just 1 run on 5 hits. 6 innings, 3 starts back at Coors Field, gave up just 1 run on 7 hits, struck out just 4 and walked 1, but a solid Coors Field day. Just 3 innings against the Dodgers on the 10th, gave up 3 hits, struck out 4, but walked 4, gave up 2 home runs, kind of scuffled his way through that one. 4 strikeouts, 3 walks in his last one, 4 hits, just 1 earned run allowed over 5 against Texas. At worst, I think you've got that kind of a start in your bag with a little bit of upside for strikeout. Buxton, major threat, obviously, from the right side. But outside of him, Ryan Jeffers, nothing. Wallner, lefty, problematic. Keishel's been good, but he's more of an average hitter. He's more of a get on base, correlated scoring, shake things up, maybe steal a base. Doesn't really strike out. Doesn't draws a walk. Brooks Lee, Cody Clemens, Royce Lewis has been bad. Austin Martin non-threatening, and then Edward Julian, strikeout target down the bottom of the lineup. So I can see the upside here for Lauer. Really can. Buxton could get him. 25 home runs on board for Buxton, 19 stolen bases, getting on base at a 330 clip. Monster premium contact, a 131 WRC plus. He's a superstar. If you're going Twins, you're absolutely taking Byron Buxton off the top. Everybody else in the lineup is cheap. You do get that benefit. But the biggest upside piece is easily Buxton. Jeffers at 34-28 has 9 home runs, a 138 ISO, has created runs at a positive sense, a 111 WRC plus, mostly coming off that 349 on-base percentage, the 10.4% walk against a good strikeout rate. There's not a ton of upside in going to Ryan Jeffers outside of a cheap catcher in a good spot in the lineup. Love Wallner under normal circumstances, 20 home runs, a 293 ISO. Dude's a masher, 10.59 in the home run model, even in lefty-lefty. Three of his home runs against Sam-handed pitching this year, he's faced lefties 68 times. Slashing 220, 324, 475. Still has a 254 ISO in the split, a 121 WRC plus. So has been productive in a small sample for power against Sam-handed this year. 6 of his 49 career home runs in 176 career plate appearances against lefties. Slips to a 179 ISO in the full sample, 74 WRC plus, 173, 267, 353 hitter, 32.4% strikeout. The strikeouts are common against both hands. So in full samples, larger numbers, he does definitely slip lefty-lefty. Could be a target for some Lauer strikeout, but if he connects, no reason to believe that he couldn't drive the ball against Lauer. So, threatening enough. Keishel at 45-31, slashing 333, 426, 516. I don't want to take anything away from him. He's been terrific over his first 108 plate appearances here. 3 home runs, 7 stolen bases. Nothing not to like about him if you're going to the Twins. Not a big-time power bat. Maybe he's putting the ball in play, but 6.3% barrel, 33.8% hard hit. I like the player. 45-31 is easy to reach if you're stacking up multiple options here because everybody else around him and Buxton are cheap. So perfectly fine, perfectly in play, but doesn't shake me from the Lauer play. Brooks Lee, low-end hitter, 13 home runs on the season, a 139 ISO and 90 WRC plus. Everybody in the bottom 5, well below average via WRC plus. Cody Clemens definitely has power upside, but slips below a 10 in this matchup in the home run model. Cody this season, 0 of his 14 home runs have come in the 49 plate appearances against lefties, and he is slashing 122, 213, 122 with a 0 ISO and a 0 WRC plus in those plate appearances against left-handed pitching. He evaporates against lefties. So bear that in mind. Literally a 0 from a guy with a 226 ISO overall. He has a 0 ISO against lefties. Royce Lewis, 3,200 has just been dead at the plate all season long, 81 WRC plus. He is a right-handed bat who hits the ball with authority. If you're looking for a sneaky option down there, I would say Royce Lewis is your guy, but not a lot of faith at this point. Low strikeout, medium walk rate, so decent opportunity for bat on ball from a cheap price. Austin Martin, another low strikeout, medium walk rate type. 67 pretty weak plate appearances so far, a 79 WRC plus, and then Edward Julian, a lefty free swinger down the bottom of the lineup that is going to be problematic as well for turning this thing over. He's not a really high quality wraparound option. If he connects, he can drive the ball, but that's definitely a target spot for Eric Lauer upside. Blue Jays bat's way more appealing. Springer 5,000, 3,300 continues to be very fairly priced for a sub 20% strikeout, double-digit walk rate, monster premium contact. 300, 388, 541. Every single metric is very high quality out of George Springer. He's got a 413 xWOBA underneath those spectacular numbers. He has been fantastic. 158 WRC plus. Should be more expensive on both sites. I don't really. He should be like 55, 4,000. especially against a nothing pitcher. Addison Barger at 43, 3,000 has upside from the left side for power. 18 home runs on the season, a 7.08 in the home run model, 219 ISO. Solid power bat with a 12.3% barrel, 51.3% hard hit on the season. Vladdy, 13-3, 51.9, 21 home runs on the year, 196 ISO. Needs to push that ISO up over 200, but love the power upside and just an incredible bat overall. 295, 391, 491, 14.2% strikeout, 12.8% walk. He is one of the best hitters in baseball. Bo Bichette, 45, 3,000, another guy, renewed season. 306, 350, 471, 128 WRC plus. Fire away with Bo Bichette shares from the 4 spot. Very fairly priced. 4,500, 3,000. It's a bargain. Prime option at short. Varsho back in the lineup today, 15 home runs and 175 plate appearances at 354 ISO. The barrels, again, have tripled year over year and going back to previous seasons, 44.5% hard hits. He is making different kind of contacts so far this year. If he can continue doing it, I expect the home runs would continue, but he also is a big-time strikeout victim, doesn't really draw walks, doesn't do all that much else except hit for power right now. Interesting to see where it goes. 47 on DraftKings is fair. 37 on FanDuel, a little bit high, but at 9.52, he is the highest end home run option in the lineup today. Davis Schneider, Nathan Lukes, Tyler Heineman, and Andres Jimenez down lineup. All mix and match quality guys. You get a variety of skill sets. Heineman's hitting for a little bit of average, getting on base at a very aggressive clip. All three of Schneider, Lukes, and Heineman get on base. Jimenez not so much. That explains away his 77 WRC plus versus the positive numbers for everybody else. Major contributions in small samples from Schneider and Heineman at 131 and 142 WRC plus. And then in the larger sample, Lukes, who's very fairly priced in the outfield today, 10 home runs, getting on at a 335 clip, creating runs 9% better than average. It's a very solid season from a guy who strikes out just 12.4% of the time and draws nearly a double-digit walk rate. Last season, 9.9, 11%. I expect that's a small sample. Yep, 31 plate appearances back there. Last year was just 91 plate appearances. He's not a major contributor in the past, but has seen a definite increased role and has been handling it. I like how cheap these options are, too. Like, this will land in the middle in terms of the overall price. But even if you just top 5 it, it's $47.40. It's doable. If you're working any one of these guys, I would say probably leave out Varsho in that case. Or he'd be my first reaction to leave out anyway. You can make the argument to leave Springer out and just take it from like there down. And maybe go to Luke's in the outfield, 44.80. Gets it under 45 or 2,4,500. It's not bad since you're including, that stretch. I'd still rather have Springer in there though. Blue Jays bats, Eric Lauer, Twins bats, and wouldn't really consider Simeon Woods Richardson. Oh, no kidding. I didn't know that, Monty. Gary Varsho is a highly respected scout for the Pirates. He played with Darren Daulton and coached Phillies briefly, eventually naming his son after Darren Daulton. Dalton Varsho. How about that? I had no idea. That's cool. Phillies going up against McLean here. Kid's obviously got some talent. 2 dynamite starts out of the gate. Put up very strong numbers through the minors. Got himself promoted. Mets have a few up-and-comers. But this is a really threatening Phillies lineup. 3.85 implied total feels a little bit light. Yeah, McLean's been good. 32.6% strikeouts, 8.7% walks in that tiny sample of 12 and a third. A 1.46 ERA, a 2.39 xFIP. Clean. Stuff Plus loves the arsenal. Kid undeniably talented. Phillies are also undeniably talented. Again, it was 7 innings in the second start, 7 strikeouts, 2 earned runs, gave up a home run to Atlanta. 5 and a third against Seattle in the debut. 2 hit him. No runs, 8 strikeouts. Did walk 4 in that game. Didn't walk anybody in the Braves game. In 18 starts in the minors, 113 and 2/3. Did make 3 appearances in relief. Pitched to a 27.2% strikeout, 10.7% walk. Was more 25 to 27% strikeouts and double-digit walks coming up in from AA to AAA this year, and at A ball, high A, and AA last season, 25.1% strikeout, 9.1% walk. So the spike to 32, I don't expect him to be in the 30s. I think we dip back down more like 1-4 type strikeout rate. And that probably begins today against a fairly low strikeout Phillies team, 20.7%. So good as he is, good as the arsenal is, and it is good. He's induced a 10.8% swinging strike rate in the show so far. He's also kept hitters to a negative 3.3 degree average launch angle. That is on a very tiny sample of batted ball events, though. So I want to caution that that's probably also not a completely real number. He was good at limiting home runs in the minor leagues. The only stop at which he was above a 1 home run per 9, 1.10 in 81 2/3 at AA last season after the promotion. That was across 18 starts, his largest sample in AA last year. But otherwise, very, very good at limiting home runs. So maybe it stays real, but we need to watch where it goes over a larger sample. So I don't fully trust it, especially at 9,000. If he had stayed in, 8,000, give him to me 1,000 cheaper, 83 on FanDuel and 8,000 on DraftKings, we'd be having a bigger conversation about it. Maybe he gets there. I'm not saying he's off the board. He projects out playable on an ugly pitching slate. Probably needs to be rostered if you're building a bunch of lineups, but this is not a good spot. Taijuan on the other side at 68, at 72, 17% strikeouts, 3.44 ERA, but a 4.47 xFIP. Gives up enough premium contact to get by that 3.66% home run rate is pretty real over 16 starts. Mets, premium bats, tons of upside there. Last season in 83 2/3, 15 starts, Taijuan gave up a 6.30% home run rate, had a 7 ERA and a 5.29 xFIP. So he has definitely been improved. He's more like this version of Taijuan Walker. But even that guy was vulnerable enough. 4.38 ERA, a 4.83 xFIP, sub 20% strikeout, a 10% walk rate. Taijuan, just not all that good. Francisco Lindor off the top of the Mets at 55. Let me do the Phillies first. Forgot I haven't done the bats yet. At 68, by the way, on DraftKings, I guess Taijuan is as playable as Simeon Woods Richardson from the first game, but neither guy is at all appealing. Trey Turner, Kyle Schwarber, Bryce Harper. Monster trio up at the top. Could ruin Nolan McLean's day in an awful hurry. 15.22 in the home run model for Schwarbs is pretty noteworthy. He can take anybody out of the ballpark, especially a rookie making his third start. 45 homers on the board for Schwarbs. 10 stolen bases, a 369 on base, 154 WRC plus. Absolute beast in all respects. Bryce Harper is only 55, 37, a little bit discounted. Trey at 59 and 37, a little discounted for Trey on FanDuel. Harper and Trey could easily both be $4,000 players on the blue side. DraftKings not doing you as big a favor. The Harper price probably a little bit low, but Trey definitely right up where he belongs. 14 homers, 32 steals out of Trey, a 121 WRC plus, 21 homers, 11 stolen bases out of Bryce, a 135 WRC plus. Guys are absolute mashers up there. And then the Phils get real cheap, real fast. JT Realmuto, I know that the season hasn't been great, but an aging catcher still hitting 273, 328, 408, putting up a 104 WRC plus. He's hit 10 home runs, not totally cashing in on major premium contact, but this is good contact. Strikes out 23.2, walks 6.2. All those numbers are exactly where they belong. Hitting cleanup in this lineup against a rookie, that is a high-end option, especially where you need to roster catchers. If the Phils are at all under-owned today, I think this is an interesting spot for some contrarian shares at a high price. Alec Bohm at 39, 3,000. Solid hitter, 284, 332, 399, a 103 WRC plus. Needs to find a little launch and cash in on some of his lurking power. But just in this form, low strikeout, low walk, so a lot of well-struck balls in play. Kepler, 35, 27. Plenty of lefty power there. 11.1% barrel, 45.7% hard hit rate, 13 home runs, just a 160 ISO. Hasn't been finding it in full this season, but still a good hitter. Low strikeout, high walk. That's an interesting option in the outfield. Nicky Castellanos can hit one out against anybody. He's got 16 homers, a 155 ISO. Another guy just kind of mired in the middle this season power-wise. 8.5% barrel rate is enough, though. Medium strikeout, low walk, so you get a lot of opportunities at high-end contact from Castellanos. Just a 93 WRC plus, though, a 317 XWOBA, but to speak to the lack of reliability, let's say. Bryson Stott, Harrison Bader down the bottom of the lineup. Two playable options. Stott can get on, steal you a base. So can Bader. Bader's got a little bit more power showing with 14 homers, 10 stolen bases across 377. Stott checking in at 9 homers, 23 stolen bases. Bader's holding down a 120 WRC plus and a better on base percentage. Damn, Yanks hit 6 home runs this afternoon. Team goes off. Like them to be a little bit more consistent. 120 WRC plus, though, for Bader for the season. He's having a very nice year overall. It's a solid option from the bottom of the lineup to use as a wraparound back up to the high price players. If you're going there, top 3, and what can we do with Real Muto? It gets us under 5, 49.40, so 5,000 a piece. You have to take Bader with it, but that's not bad because he connects directly into that run. You get catcher filled, and you get the 3 stars. That is not a bad way to build Phillies. If you were to leave one of those guys out up top, I mean, you could technically make it a little bit cheaper by not taking Realmuto and putting Kepler in there at 35, and that brings it to 48.20, but that's $100 per spot. If that makes a difference, sure, it's 500 total. I mean, it could, but definitely prefer it with Realmuto in there and just block off the catcher spot. Interesting Phillies lineup. They're very high quality, and again, I don't fully trust the rookie here, especially not with his concerning walk rates through the minors, with some of these hitters' ability to draw the walk. Needs to check power for sure. Otherwise, it's going to be potentially ugly. I'm not saying, look, again, I don't want to sell it the wrong way. Again, McLean, very playable here too, but I don't love the pricing. Frankie Lindor, 55, 38, 25 home runs, 24 stolen bases, a 192 ISO that needs to rise a little bit, but it has been a strong season from Lindor. Sub 20% strikeout, puts a lot of balls in play with authority. Juan Soto, Pete Alonso, monsters. 32 homers, 21 stolen bases from Soto, a 390 on base, a 147 WRC plus. Alonso creating runs 37% better than average. Needs that 30th home run to come through. He's at 29. He'll get there, but just wanted to get over that 30 mark. Nimmo at 47, 31 has 20 homers, 12 stolen bases. Solid contributor, a 114 WRC plus. Another guy who hits the ball hard, a lefty bat to throw at Taijuan Walker here. A lot of appeal there. He's a fairly low to medium strikeout, medium walk rate type, but you get a lot of opportunities of premium contact out of Nimmo when he connects. Mark Vientos, cheap for all the barrels, all the hard hits. Yeah, it's only amounted to 12 home runs, a 176 ISO, but if you've been here for 5 minutes when the Mets have been on a slate, you know that we like Mark Vientos' upside on this show, especially when we can get him so cheap on DK at third base. FanDuel at 3,000. That's like a average price where the DraftKings price is pretty low. It's not a bad price on Vientos at FanDuel, but it's not as aggressively discounted. McNeil mix and match quality option with a little bit of upside via the hit tool, a little bit of situational power. Starling Marte is interesting, but he's more interesting when he's hitting up toward the top of the lineup. 37, 28 from down there. Falls more into just another outfielder category, but he does have five tool ability. He does have multi-category ability to contribute. Low strikeout, medium walk rate. So a solid option in the outfield while not being a total priority. Brett Beatty's interesting from the bottom at 4,000, 2,900, 15 home runs and only 347 plate appearances and a lot of premium contact. 12.8% barrel, 47.2% hard hit from a very cheap option at second or third. That's a good option from the bottom. Hayden Singer is not a good option. Not much of a bat there. Mets bats. Phillies bats, but mostly because Nolan McLean is 9,000. If he was cheaper, I might go the other way. That's basically a tie. Nolan McLean next, and then that was it, right? Oh, and then Taijuan Walker is a DNP. Do not play for me. Royals bats probably in. Hit the like, hit the subscribe. I woke up tired today. I feel like my brain is not fully engaged. Apologies if I'm just rambling my way through this one, even more so than usual. Don Pla asking, would you mini stack Lukes and Bichette? No issues with it. It wouldn't be like my immediate, that's what I want to do with that lineup. But if you wind up with a lineup, or if the one lineup you're building winds up with that as a two-man in there, sure, that's totally fine. I'd rather have the more correlated scoring on basey type guy like Luke's ahead of the bigger bat like Bichette, so that you get the more direct line to the correlated scoring. Like from here, going back around all the way to there is a little bit of a stretch as far as Bichette's ability to drive in Luke's. Bichette being on obviously feeds the upside for Luke's, but he's less likely to cash that ticket where he's more of a on-base type. He does have 10 home runs on the board. I'm not taking it completely away from him. So it's a good pairing. It's a fine pairing. But I'd be more inclined to, look at like a Barger Bichette obviously would have a lot of upside if you're just looking at two different pricing. If you could get Schneider there, it might be a little bit more interesting, just with a little bit more power upside to put up the big number in correlation with Bichette. But you've also got Varsho lurking in between the two, who might just knock Bichette in, and then it's irrelevant. Just as far as two individual contributors in a good lineup that's likely to succeed, who, regardless of their direct correlation with one another, could both contribute to a large score, absolutely, that is fine as a two-man, okay? Don's got Soto in the lineup. Love it. With the second baseman with McNeil. Yeah, nothing wrong there. I would just say, watch how many mini stacks you're putting into individual lineups. You do want to stretch one of those at least a little bit. So the Royals with Ryan Bergert on the mound. Bergert pitching to a 23.7% strikeout over 58 innings, a 2.79 ERA, about a 4.39 xFIP, 10.2% walk rate, 40.6% hard hits with 90 plus miles an hour of exit velo. Probably a little lucky to be at that 2.97% home run rate. It looks like more of the well-struck balls didn't quite reach the extreme 19.1 degree average launch that he's allowing. So he's gotten just a little bit of happenstance feeding the sub 3% home run rate. He's capable, more than capable of beating these White Sox, especially without Lubob in the lineup, even with bad numbers this year. Still their most threatening bat, but they've been super frisky. They're at a 4.07 implied total against a, at best, mediocre pitcher. 72 for Bergert, absolutely fine on DraftKings. 85 on FanDuel feels a little bit heavy. It is the White Sox, so it's not unfair. As I said at the beginning of the show, he's been on a solid stretch as far as limiting earned runs. Each of his last 4 starts, he's pitched into the 6th, but has not completed it, notably. 2 earned runs, 3 of those starts, 1 earned run in the other one. That was against the Red Sox, at Boston, at Minnesota, these White Sox, and at Detroit. So 3 of 4 of those are good to decent to good teams, and one of those is the current opponent. 7 strikeouts in that game against the White Sox, 8 in the game against the Twins. Lower strikeout totals in the other games. He did give up a home run in each of the last 3 against the Tigers, these White Sox, and the Twins. Something to watch there as far as power output. Handful of hits in each game, but working deep into starts, keeping them off the board, and has not really run into problems throughout the season. But again, the xFIP is the number we want to look at. The 4 and change total is very, very real on the White Sox side. So know that at your cheap price, you're probably coming away with a couple dings for base hits and runs with some visible downside into the basement. Aaron Savali at 6,000 at 7,300. I don't know that we would really want to use Aaron Savali to tangle with a pretty high-quality Royals lineup that does not feed opposing pitcher strikeout. 17.5% strikeout rate for the confirmed across fair samples for everybody. This is just a very, very low strikeout, put the ball in play kind of a team. I mean, they don't walk a ton either. Only Yaz at the top of the lineup drawing a double-digit walk rate. 9% is the next highest number. That's Michael Garcia. 9.8 for Jonathan India. I missed that one. The only thing India is doing. Just not a good target. Savali checks in with a sub 20% strikeout, 8.8% walk, a 5.02 ERA, and a 4.90 xFIP. The quality for Savali is just evaporated. A couple years ago, he was good. 3.46 ERA, a 4.10 xFIP, 23% strikeouts against 6.5% walks. And like the final 9 of those starts were really interesting. He was pitching up at like a 28-29% strikeout rate over those. And then it just went away. 4.36 ERA, 4.31 xFIP. He was okay. He was average last season. This season, he's been trending more toward bad than average. Everything is going downhill for Aaron Savali. I'm just targeting with Royals bats. At 6,000 on DraftKings, again, he's in that bucket with Woods Richardson. If you want to throw the dart with Taiwan, sure, he's there, but it's very unlikely. He's a guy we've seen succeed over time, if that means anything to you, but it's been a minute, and again, the skills are diminished. Microsoft antivirus did not find any threats. Good. Thanks for that. Royals bats with Yaz up at the top, 37-29, 13 home runs, a 333 on base, holding down that leadoff spot for this team pretty effectively ahead of Witt, Pasquantino, Garcia, all the hitters they actually want here. He's very much fine as a correlated scoring option. He's also got a little bit of individual power from the left side, 8.1% barrel and 41.4% hard hit. The barrels are down over the last 2 seasons, but does have the ability to drive one from the top of the lineup. So fair option at those prices. Bobby Witt is expensive, but very worthwhile. 19 homers, 34 steals, a 129 WRC plus. We get into Vinny at 28 home runs, monster uptick from him for power upside at 213 ISO. Creating runs at a 114 clip. He's just awesome. Michael Garcia, 126 WRC plus, multi-category contributor here. 13 homers, 22 steals, rock solid slash line across the board. Doesn't barrel the ball all that consistently, but capable of driving one out of the park. More a line drive, hard hit, low strikeout, medium high walk rate guy. Major contributor for this team. Sal Perez, on the other hand, barrels the ball all the time. Also hits it very hard all the time. Doesn't really strike out that much. Doesn't really draw that many walks. So you're getting a ton of that contact for $4,200 on DraftKings. That is stupid cheap for Sal against this pitcher. $2,900 on FanDuel. Also pretty stupid cheap. 22 home runs, a 199 ISO that will be back above 200 before things are said and done. And then you get into this stretch of same guys. Adam Frazier, Jonathan India, Kyle Isbell, all giving you pretty much the same contributions. Michael Massey continues to be the more interesting guy down there, given how hard he's capable of hitting the ball. That's a somewhat interesting bat for 2,000 at second base, for 2,200 at second base on FanDuel. I like Massey down there. Super low strikeout. He hasn't been good this year. 203, 222, 257, a .054 ISO. He's a better hitter than that. Any one of Frazier, India, Isbell can get into a lineup. As we've talked about a number of times, Frazier is probably the best contributor so far this year. Each of them is getting on base at just a okay clip. Nobody's above a 100 WRC plus, so nobody's even contributing runs at an average clip. But multi-position across the same positions for those guys, any one of them is fine. If you're going to the White Sox, Tauchman off the top, good table setter at a 370 on base, 125 WRC plus. The occasional ability to drive the ball. He's got 8 home runs from the left side. He's an interesting bat, fairly priced at 33.28. Overall, mostly just a journeyman, mostly just another outfielder who's very good at getting on base and providing correlation. Miguel Vargas at 37.29, 13 home runs. Outside of that, 235, 317, 401, just at league average WRC plus. It's been low strikeout, fairly high walk, but there's not a lot of there. Kyle Teal, Lennon Sosa, I believe a little bit more. Oh, is Colson Montgomery not in the lineup? Did he get hurt? I didn't clock that if... No, just not in the lineup today. That's weird. Oh, no, that's a downgrade for this team for sure. Hit his 4th home run in a row yesterday. Okay, he had side soreness apparently last week. That's what caused him to miss a game last week. So maybe just being a little bit cautious, but definite downgrade for the White Sox not having Colson Montgomery in the lineup. What the hell is going on? Uh-oh. Can you guys hear me? This doesn't seem great. Oh, wait. There we go. Can you guys hear me? We good? Good. All right. Everything froze up there as I was clicking over to CBS Sports to read that note. So no Montgomery definitely downgrades this lineup, but Lennon is still very appealing, 9.9% barrel, 44.4% hard hit. I think Kyle Teal's an interesting option at catcher, 3,800, 9.1% barrel out of him. You're getting a lot of walks out of him. Good run creator at a 128 WRC plus and a fantastic 383 on base. They could consider running Kyle Teal up the lineup as well if they didn't have Tauchman up there. That's a really solid catcher option. The White Sox might be more interesting as a little three-man attack today. It's a shame two of their better options are both catchers because Edgar Cato, a couple spots later, is also an interesting hitter who gets on base, who creates runs, has a little bit of pop in that bat. Both guys have 4 home runs. They're both affordable at catcher. You can alternate between the two if you're building more than one White Sox stack too. It's $900 cheaper to get to Cato. But if you go like Tauchman, Teal, Sosa for 33, 38, 41, if you wanted to stretch to 5, you can, but then you're probably including one of either Vargas or Benintendi, who are both not nearly as good as what maybe some of these short sample numbers this year numbers look like in terms of just the home run column. And that's really crept in around the edges for both guys. If you were able to put Teal and Cato both in the DraftKings lineup as a 5-man, then maybe I'd be more interested because you could go all the way down and grab Michael A off the bottom. You could include Meadroth from the 7 spot. On FanDuel, it is playable as a 4 because you can get both Teal and Cato in there. And for me, over there, it would probably just be Tauchman, Teal, Sosa, and Cato. But given that you can get both catchers in on FanDuel and everybody's cheap, you could do a little bit of mixing and matching from the bottom if you wanted to. And of course, in any given White Sox lineup, a share of Miguel Vargas, a share of Andrew Benintendi, perfectly fine. Those guys, again, have hit those home runs. You're not paying any tax for them on in terms of the prices. So perfectly fine to work those guys in, but they're not overly appealing bats to me. Michael A, 8 home runs on the board, 11% barrels, 45.5% hard hits. It's exactly what we're looking for Michael A to do. It hasn't really been a good season, 207, 272, 392, just an 81 WRC plus, but the sneaky power is there, and he's very cheap. He's hiding at the bottom of the White Sox lineup. So if you're going there, I would consider some shares of him. All right, Excel appears to be freaking out because it's frozen again. I don't know what's going on with this thing. I don't know why clicking on it. Maybe the Windows antivirus message was a trap and that was injecting a virus into the computer. That would be bad. Brooks Baldwin, Chase Meadroth, mix and match quality options. Meadroth's got a good hit tool, 252, 332, 317. He's clinging to some, well, that's not good. He's clinging to some, okay numbers overall, but it's largely slipped in quality since his debut. The fuck, man. Cool. All right. Bear with me if you can still hear me out there. I don't know what's going on the back end here technically right now. Something out there is gumming up the works. It was as soon as I went to CBS. Thanks a lot, CBS. Assholes. I already had some issues with CBS. Jesus fucking Christ. Even the task manager thing's not coming up now. I hit the Control-Alt-Delete. I don't know if you guys can hear me or not. I'm probably just talking to myself. Come on. I really don't want to have to restart the whole thing. I don't know when the last time I saved the file was as far as lineups. Okay, now it's just gone to black. right. When Control-Alt-Delete doesn't work, that's not a great sign. All right, gang. Stay tuned. I will try and restart the computer and see where we're at. I don't really know what else I could do. I knew this wasn't my day. Yep. All right. I may or may not be back. Give me a sec. Oh, wait. The sign-in process couldn't display security and sign-in options when Control-Alt-Delete was pressed. If Windows doesn't respond, press Escape or use the power switch to restart. Oh, wait. Hold on. Windows came back. The fun part is I can't even pull you guys up because everything's frozen. So I don't know if you can hear me, and I don't know if you're still there. I would probably still be here watching just for the entertainment value. Yeah, I think I need... I'm going to restart it anyway. Seems to be the only course of action here. See you guys in a minute, hopefully. Can you guys see me? Are we back? I don't know if you guys can see and hear me. Apparently the stream is on. I just rejoined. Hey, all right. OMG Lols, welcome back. Yes. All right, we're back. That was fun. Not only did I need to restart the computer, apparently Windows decided it was going to install some updates along the way there. So, yeah, a lot of fun waiting that out for the last couple of minutes. Appreciate everybody who stayed and hung out. Where were we? We were talking about the bottom of the White Sox lineup. We did go through the Royals. We talked about these guys. All right, so both this game up and down, I think we covered. Royals bats. Playing with fire. Ryan Bergert, 2. White Sox bats, 3. Savali at the bottom. I used the auto recover file, so we should have most of the lineups that were in here previously. But keep an eye out for anything funky. So as we talked about in the run-up, Ryan Nelson, fairly priced, decent enough pitcher. Quinn Priester, fairly priced, decent enough pitcher. Both guys in challenging matchups against good teams, though. The Diamondbacks even diminished after the trade. Still a very high-quality team. A lot of effective bats up and down. And then the Brewers just continue churning out wins and runs and a lot of run creation. So dangerous spot for both guys, but especially on such a short pitching slate. I think both guys are mandatory options from the middle if you're building a lot of lineups. You at least include these guys in your build pool. Nelson at 77. That's a decent price on DraftKings. He comes in with a 3.63 ERA, 401 xFIP, 21.8% strikeouts, 6.6% walk. Just a lot of effectiveness through there. He gives up a little bit of premium contact that you got to watch out for because it comes on a 14.8 degree average launch. So he has been a little bit lucky at 2.70% home runs, but that's the exact same number he had last year on basically the same kind of contact while pitching two very, very similar numbers across the board. It just kind of is who Ryan Nelson is. You get some downside starts along the way for sure. Nothing safe about it, but capable. Wouldn't surprise me at all if he had a decent, 6-inning type day. Speaking of which, let me open my notes file back up. It's really just the game log screenshots, but 6 in the last one, 3 earned runs, 6 strikeouts, 2 walks against the Reds. At Colorado, 4 earned runs on 8 hits over 6 1/3, struck out 4, but that's an okay course start. Bumpy one against Texas, gave up 5 on 7 hits over 5 1/3, but still struck out 6 in that game. And then a very strong stretch of 4 starts where he didn't give up more than 2 runs in any start, pitched into the 6th every time. Has gone into the 6th inning in 6 straight starts. And prior to that, had pitched into the 7th inning for 2 starts. Just had a rough 4-inning day against the Angels back on July 11th. But he's been ripping off a pretty solid stretch. He's competent at worst. Priester at 87-83, sub 20% strikeout, but an interesting overall year. 3.44 ERA, 3.86 xFIP, inducing a 10.2% swinging strike rate. He can spike a big strikeout game. We saw him in double digits twice. 10 strikeouts against the Dodgers on the 18th, 11 strikeouts against the Rockies. One of those is more believable than the other one, but they both happened. But he's been on a stretch 3, 4, 2, 5, 4 strikeouts the last 6 games. Does have the ability to pitch deep still, but more limited in the last 3. 4 1/3, gave up 6 earned runs on 10 hits to the Mets. 5 1/3, just 2 earned runs on 6 hits, struck out 5, walked 1, but gave up 2 homers to the Reds at Cincinnati, and they got him out of that game. That did pitch into the 6th. And then 4 1/3, just 1 earned run, 4 strikeouts, but 5 walks last time out at Wrigley. Problematic day there, but you can see where the pitch count got run up. So I think 6 is easily in the cards for Priester if things go well. You do have a lot of guys in this lineup that are capable of getting on base. You've got some up and downs as far as the strikeouts go, a couple threatening stars up toward the top of the D-backs lineup. So Priester no more safe than Ryan Nelson is, and paying $1,000 more for him on that side. Don't really love that. Where they're closer in price, I think it's more competitive. There is a difference between the two options at essentially the same projection, given that $1,000 price offset. Between the two, I wouldn't really suggest that Priester's any better off going up against the D-backs than Nelson is against the Brewers as far as why those prices would be different. Nelson's the better strikeout pitcher, technically the more proven overall guy, slightly. D-backs bats definitely in play against Priester. We find the downside he's gettable enough. Quality soul. Didn't think I could be so happy to see another man's face. Appreciate you, buddy. Apparently I was still broadcasting while everything was melting down. You guys could still hear me. That's fun. When everything just went to black, I was a little bit concerned. I hate that because I don't know if this happens on your computer, but everything goes black, but you still have the mouse, the cursor, and it works perfectly. It's like, if that works, why the fuck is everything else dead? Don't get how all that happens. Obviously, we're not going back to CBS anytime soon, though. I think that's what killed it. Whatever pop-up hit the ad blocker and just melted down. Anyway, top of the Diamondbacks with Perdomo, Marte, Carroll. Excellent options up there. Everybody gets on base. 2 stars and a very good player, I think, is the way to put that. Ketel Marte, Corbin Carroll, inarguably stars. Carroll, another dynamite season, 27 homers, 20 stolen bases. Marte's got 23 homers on the board, 387 on base, a 152 WRC+. I feel like Marte's been stuck at those 23 for a moment, though. Yeah, homerless since the 13th, 12th and the 13th, he hit one each. Not that that's an overly long stretch. But it's probably one of his longer stretches of the year. 52 plate appearances without a home run. But over that stretch, 7 runs, 6 ribbies. He's doubled 4 times, drawn his walks. Just a .087 ISO, a 239, 308, 326. So a little minor bump in the road over the last couple of weeks, but it's still Ketel Marte. Maybe it's knocked 100 or 2 off of his price. Maybe it knocks his popularity down slightly against a pitcher that people are going to be rostering today. So we take advantage of that. Nothing but upside from Ketel Marte. Lourdes Gurriel at 42-31. Very playable option. 19 homers, 10 stolen bases. Needs to push the on-base back at least above 300. It's just bothering me that it's at 295. That'll help with the WRC plus being substandard. Low strikeout, low walk, a lot of well-struck balls in play. Pavin Smith, double-digit barrels, 45.8% hard hits. Gabriel Moreno at 47.7% hard hit. And you get 40+% hard hit rates from everybody at the bottom of the lineup. That's a significant factor. Some of them are smaller samples than others, but they're growing samples and they're quality bats. So I'm a believer in taking any 2 of the options from the bottom if you're stacking up Diamondbacks. Nothing wrong with that. And those guys get really, really cheap on DK. You've got 2 catchers to contend with if this is the route they go. But solid options. I like Moreno slightly better than Del Castillo, but you can make an argument for both guys. I just like Moreno's low strikeout, high walk nature. Just gets him on base via more mechanisms than Del Castillo might have at his disposal. But either guy can drive the ball effectively. Either guy can be an effective option at a very cheap price at catcher. Smith just gets on base, 359 on base, a 121 WRC plus. He draws a ton of walks. 3 true outcomes this year with a lot of strikeouts on deck as well, but driving the ball very, very effectively. Blaze has been driving the ball like crazy. 2,700 at third base works. 26 across 3 positions on FanDuel works. 5 home runs and 155 chances. Just a 170 ISO. Given that kind of contact, that number ought to be a little bit higher, but needs to find some results, need to find some happenstance to pay it off. Alec Thomas, mix and match quality outfielder. On the Brewers side, Bryce Turang, Caleb Durbin, William Contreras, Christian Yelich. Playable options up and down. Stolen base upside out of 3 of those guys, Turang, Durbin, Yelich, all with double-digit stolen bases. Everybody gets on base effectively, 351, 359, 351 on base percentage out of Turang, William Contreras, and Christian Yelich. Durbin maybe slightly behind those guys at a 325 clip, but that's perfectly fine. Miscast probably as a 2-hitter still. 9 home runs, 11 stolen bases. Not the best power bat, a 136 ISO. But this team outside of Yelich really does lack a true power upside option. They had Rhys Hoskins here for a minute. Now it's Andrew Vaughn. Vaughn does have power in the bat, but it's inconsistent. Comes and goes for the young player still. But he's down to 3,900, 2,900 across sites now, given the last 2 weeks or so of scuffling more, looking more like the White Sox version of Andrew Vaughn. A lot of talent there for the money at first base. 13% barrel, 48.7% hard hit out of him. Love the upside for him. And any combination of, say, 3 or 4 of those top 5, and then you work in like a Jake Bauers, who's back in the lineup at first base down the bottom of the lineup. That's an interesting hitter who can come through with some power. So far this season, 192, 321, 346, over 156 chances. Pretty ugly, but 5 home runs, 5 stolen bases in the small sample. He does run a little bit. He does hit for power from the left side. Double-digit barrel rates each of the last couple of years. Not an uninteresting bat to have down there. Brandon Lockridge, Andrew Monasterio, more mix and matchy type options. Blake Perkins from the 6th spot, also kind of mix and matchy. I'd rather have Bauers in that spot. I think they should have gone that route, but I get why they would put the switch hitter there baseball-wise. A lot of playability, cheap too. I mean, you get double yes there, and probably a yes on Turang. And then since I get outfield eligibility on Bauers, that's an interesting way to go. 43.20 a man for the 5-man, and you get Turang, Yelich, Contreras, Andrew Vaughn, and Jake Bauers. I would say that's the best 5 guys in this lineup. No Collins in there today. It's still a lot of upside. 4.57 implied total. Brewers are very much on the board, but they tend to rank out a little bit lighter than some of the other teams because of that lack of the true thumper in the lineup. With much respect, of course, to Christian Yelich and his 26 home runs, his 15 stolen bases. He's been fantastic this year. He has been providing the home run power. Brewers bats. Diamondbacks bats, either pitcher, and both pitchers are better than that and more on the board than that on such a short pitching slate. So you're going to definitely need shares of both guys if you're building a bunch of lineups. Pirates prime target for Sonny Gray here. We do have the Pirates lineup in. Cards is already in there. You saw the lights go in and out. Back out of the black. CBS killed itself. Yeah. In many ways. Don saying, is fading the Rangers a way to go? Sure. I don't think they're mandatory. They look very, very good today. Kachanowicz, super, super targetable. But I don't think they're mandatory. You've got a bunch of teams, again, 5+ runs. If you're building 150 lineups, should you just take no shares of Rangers? No, definitely not. That's not the right way to do that. Fade doesn't mean that, right? We're talking about in 150 lineups, if you want to take a position, you take a smaller position than the field. You don't just zero them out. So depends on what you mean in your question there. If you're talking about one lineup done, yeah, the Rangers aren't mandatory. They're just they're a collection of guys who are underperforming while still being talented against a bad pitcher. I can't say they're a good team. It's a little challenging with the way they play this year. Carmen Mlodzinski, speaking of not good, 3.89 ERA, 3.78 xFIP. Those numbers are fine, but only a 20.2% strikeout, 5.8% walk, doesn't induce a double-digit swinging strike rate, 26.5% CSW. Gives up medium-grade power, 39.9% hard hits, 90.3 miles an hour of exit velo. One's right below our threshold, one's above our threshold, 2.31% home runs. He has limited launch a little bit, but I don't know that it's an ongoing attribute necessarily. We're also just not likely to get any kind of depth out of Mlodzinski here. Why do I have 2 of these now? Last time out, 2 innings, 7 hits, kept the Rockies off the board for 2 innings. Outing before that was a full start like this one, went 4. I think we get maybe 4 out of them in this spot if the Cards don't get them, but that doesn't make them appealing in any way. You can see how low the projections are. Sonny Gray at 95.94, though, the number 2 pitcher on the slate, and arguably number 1 if you just price in, if you work in those prices, and probably what the popularity is going to look like. I would expect more people to go to Fromber, but they'll both be highly owned. Sonny pitching to a 26.9% strikeout against just 4.2% walks, a spectacular ratio. 4.33 ERA could be a little ugly. Maybe that pushes a few people away, but a sub-3 xFIP is outstanding. So he's been underperforming what the actual pitching has looked like in terms of the results. That's why we have stats like xFIP, Sierra, some of the underlying stuff that only factor in the things that are actually in the pitcher's control, where ERA counts things that can't be controlled by the pitcher. You give up a lazy fly ball, the outfielder takes a bad route and it lands and goes for a double, but doesn't get scored an error. It's not Sonny Gray's fault. And that run could go against him, right? That's where some of that difference is created. So a little bad luck in for Sonny this year. Last year, he struck out more than 30%, 30.3% against 5.8% walks was absolutely tremendous. 2.82 xFIP against the 3.84 ERA last season. You can see typically going to be a little bit higher than those tremendous xFIP numbers, but a very, very good pitcher that could absolutely breeze through this high strikeout lineup. 22.2%, cushioned a little bit by the 15 from IKF, but that's a non-threatening bat down lineup. Nick Gonzalez at 18, that's a non-threatening bat. I do think Spencer Horwitz is a decent hitter, but more of a hit tool focused bat than anything else. Jared Triolo, not overly threatening. And then they're good bats. Everybody strikes out a little bit. 25.6% strikeout rate for those five guys. That's Brian Reynolds, Tommy Pham, O'Neill Cruz, Henry Davis, and Andrew McCutchen. So definite upside for Sonny Gray. 95-94, generous pricing. Pirates bats, if you want to be super contrarian about it, you could probably grab some Spencer Horwitz, Brian Reynolds. Tommy Pham is a little bit resurgent lately, but it's not a good team. It's just going to be a low-owned team. And every now and then you could exploit the flaws of Sonny where he's given up a few more runs than he ought to be. Triolo at 27-25 at least fills multiple positions, but is only mix and match quality, 222, 313, 352. You do have a 102 WRC plus on Spencer. I do, again, think he's a good bat. 8% barrel this year, same thing as last year, 261, 330, 398. Decent hit tool, decent on-base skills, low strikeout, fairly high walk. That's a quality hitter. That's somebody I would start with. First base is not the ideal spot to have him, but he's very cheap at 34 on DK. 3,000, not really doing you any favors on FanDuel. Reynolds is still their best player. Their best player not named O'Neill Cruz. Their most proven overall player. 45-31, 14 home runs, a bad season overall for him, but a little bit of life lately. The price has gone back up commensurate with the return to form. Tommy Pham's pricing really hasn't budged. 265, 340, 384 now. He's up to a 101 WRC plus. Still not providing a ton of counting stats overall. 7 homers, 5 steals, but he's been good. He's hitting the ball hard. 47.7% hard hit. He's drawing a double-digit walk. So if you're going to Pirates, one of the more interesting players. Nick Gonzalez, 42.5% hard hits is at least somewhat interesting. It's resulted in a 279, 321, 387, largely driven by BABIP kind of a slash line, but that could evaporate very quickly, and he doesn't do a lot else. He's playable, but he's not ideal. Just a mix and match guy at second base. McCutch still gets on base, more just another outfielder overall. But he's not priced like the old Andrew McCutchen, so you can absolutely use him if you're going to the Pirates, and you can get some correlated scoring into O'Neill Cruz, who's 51-34 across sites, 18 homers, 34 steals, an otherwise pretty poor season, 91 WRC plus from a kid who ought to be a superstar, especially given the way that he actually connects with the ball. Those are Giancarlo Stanton type contact numbers. Henry Davis, IKF, entirely skippable down toward the bottom of the lineup. Davis, sub Mendoza, 250 on base. IKF never been much of a bat, a slap hitter. Put the ball in play from time to time. I don't like him at all at third base. If you have him at second base in one of your Pirate stacks, fine, but not appealing in an already not appealing lineup. Cards definitely in play as much as they ever are. Just always kind of mired in the lower middle part of the board. Lars Nootbaar, playable from the top, does hit the ball definitely hard from the left side. That can be advantageous against a pitcher like Mlodzinski. He's fairly priced at 42.29. 13 home runs, but an otherwise down season overall for a guy that is a pretty good hitter. So I would take shares of Nootbaar to start things off. We've got Herrera back at the catcher spot at 46 on DraftKings, 31 on FanDuel, fairly priced. 10 home runs in 326 chances, a 123 WRC plus. Kid's been good in his first, real full season. Alec Burleson at 43, 3,000. Just another outfielder in reality, but within this Cardinals lineup, one of their better options. Lefty bat has first base eligibility, so you can move him around a little bit. Getting on a 341 clip, creating runs 23% better than average. He's been fine. The whole top end of the lineup has been fine, but nobody's been really special. Nobody at 20 home runs even. Wilson Contreras has 19. Maybe we get to 20 today, and I can stop saying that. But everybody is just in the mid-fours. This is the picture of a mid-board, just mediocre team. Everybody just under halfway to the magic number up top. Nobody at 20 home runs. Everybody gets on base okay. Not bad. They create runs, sure. But there's so much disappointment and such a roller coaster ride with going to Cardinals. One of the more tougher teams to nail. More tougher, well said. Told you my brain wasn't engaged today. And then the meltdown for the computer that ruined it. It didn't ruin it. I'm having fun, but it definitely threw me further off. 41 for Nolan Gorman seems like a good price for a guy who crushes baseballs when he connects. More so in the last 2 seasons than he has this year, but we are up to 9.7% barrel, 41.7% hard hit. He's got 13 home runs, a 198 ISO, creating runs 11% better than average. He ends the quality run up top. Then you get into Mason Wynn, just another shortstop, and probably not even that. Thomas Segisi, Pedro Paz, and Nathan Church down lineup, mix and match options all. We don't even have Jordan Walker to talk about. So really, it's about the top 5 if you're going cards, and then maybe you're working a few Mason Wynn shares around the edges. He'd be the next most desirable guy, but 93 WRC plus, a 291 xWOBA, not a lot of there. Sonny Gray, cards bats, Pirates bats, wouldn't play Melidzinski. Here are those Rangers that were in question a moment ago. Both lineups are in. Let me grab these. Pop them into the back here. Ozzy Peraza in the lineup today for the Angels at the dead men. That's not a good bat, not a reliable bat. Maybe slightly, somewhat, sort of interesting. Not as exciting as Nico Cavadas was down there, and he did not come through for us at all yesterday. Third base, probably not ideal either. The ability to move him across positions, including second for 21 on FanDuel, probably makes him more interesting to the blue side. Kid just, once upon a time, had some pedigree. And the Angels have been pretty good at identifying those options. Think, Mickey Moniak, who they kind of resurrected and then shipped out. So maybe they see a little something there. There is a little bit of talent in there somewhere. It just has not ever arrived at the major league level. But it's an interesting mixer down the bottom of the lineup for a very cheap price at third base where you don't have a positional conflict with this team. Angels are going against Jacob Latz, who's pitched to a 23% strikeout and 11.5% walk, a 3.05 ERA, but a 4.32 xFIP. A lot of premium contact, high launch angle, 41.3% hard hit, 89.8 miles an hour of exit velo. Might as well be at our 90 threshold. Probably a little lucky to have missed some premium contact when he's given up the significant fly balls and vice versa. So 2.05% home runs, probably a little bit lucky. 104 marked by Stuff Plus, though, over his 3 starts, his 59 innings, a lot of work in relief. Last time out, 3 1/3 against KC. Faced 12 hitters, just 1 hit, 4 strikeouts. That's a high-quality 3 1/3 against that team. 5 innings, as mentioned, in his last full start against Detroit. Gave up 6 hits, 1 earned run, 3 strikeouts, 2 walks. That's probably your upside for today. I don't see him doing much better than that. Maybe he finds a few extra Ks along the way. The Angels do feed strikeouts, so maybe it becomes more like 5-6 strikeouts in 5 innings. It's going to boil down to, what do the Angels do going the other way? But I think that's the extreme end of your upside here. I gave him the 4.5. Doesn't really project out great for your 75 on DraftKings, 71 on FanDuel with the lack of the quality start and probably a lack of a win upside. Don't really like it. Jack Janowitz at 58.64. I would be hard pressed to make any kind of argument to play him at all. Like, even for super contrarian reasons, even because he's crazy cheap, it's just a bad pitcher in a bad spot. 5-run total on the other side. He's pitched to a 6.19 ERA. The xFIP is a full run lower, but it's 4.99. Let's not get excited. 1.69 whip. 14.5% strikeouts against 11.3% walks. The one thing he's done appreciably well is keep the ball to a 7.1 degree average launch angle. That's saving his life. That ERA would be like 8-something if he allowed a few more home runs. And by the way, even with that, we're at 3.69% home runs, 48% hard hit, nearly 92 miles an hour of exit velo, still an 8.4% barrel. So it's not like he can't hit them out against him. Last season on a 3.6, he gave up a 2.63% home run rate. .399 ERA, 4.48 xFIP. He was a significantly better pitcher despite striking out 9.4%. That's hilarious. He only walked 3.8%, so that helped him out on the ERA numbers, but it's not like he was good there either. It's just one of the most targetable pitchers in baseball. So again, going back to the question, can you... Oh, Yainer Diaz, day-to-day. Gino, another home run. Gino's hitting his stride in Seattle. Love that guy. Helping carry the dynasty team. So going back to the question about, fading the Rangers, again, across 150 lineups or even across 20 lineups, you absolutely want to include some Rangers. If you want to take a smaller share than what should be pretty significant public ownership, then yeah, that's a way to go. You carve that down a little bit. You take more share of something else, gain a little leverage against the field. Sure, absolutely fine. But full fade, take them out of your thing? No. One lineup, I do think, you can go around them, sure, but they should definitely at least be evaluated for your one lineup because they project out as one of the better teams on the board against the most targetable pitcher on the board. Or it's a bad slate. One of the most targetable pitchers. Zach Neto from the top of the Angels, Mike Trout, Taylor Ward, Joe Adele, just an absurd stretch of power. 23 homers, 23 steals for Neto. Trout stuck at 20 home runs for a minute, slipped to a 199 ISO, missed a little time in there. Been a little bit of a slowdown since he's been back. What have we been doing since coming back? No, I definitely didn't want his 2011 splits. Thank you. Misclicked twice, didn't help there. Yeah, last home run came on August 6th. Over that stretch, he's at just 204, but 368 on base, still 222. Slug is obviously problematic. 83 WRC plus and a .019 ISO. That's a bad stretch of Mike Trout outside of the on base, but we don't get carried away with small samples like that. It's still Mike Trout in there. Let's see, where's... Yeah, since the break, just 3 home runs, a 127 ISO, 229, 366, 356, but does have a 106 WRC plus, largely fed by that on base. Definitely hasn't been a good second half. Going back all the way, he basically missed all of May. If you go back to that, since coming back, just to allay any fears that it's like he was hurt and it's just been ongoing that he's been hurt. 258, 402, 422 with a 131 WRC plus, 11 home runs, just a 164 ISO over that stretch, but the ISO's been down a little bit overall, and it's obviously, this second half has cratered it somewhat. But I still do think it's just a bad month plus, rather than like he got hurt at the beginning of the year and it's been affecting him all season long. Given that the numbers, more than half of his home runs have come since that return. It's just a lower end version of Mike Trout, but there's still tons and tons of upside in going to him against this lefty. Taylor Ward at 44, at 33 has 30 home runs. Joey Adele got to 30 home runs. How about that? 251 ISO, a 114 WRC plus. He's not stealing bases this year, and he doesn't really hit for average or get on base all that effectively. But it was nice when he was also stealing bases to go with the power. But love that total, and we still got a month to go. Luis Renifo, mix and match quality this season, not really providing run creation, just a 77 WRC plus, not getting on base as effectively as he did last year. He's in play because he's in the heart of the lineup at a fair price at usable positions, but not an overly appealing bat. Logan O'Hoppy's very appealing, 19 home runs from the catcher, 49.8% hard hit, 14% barrels. Christian Moore elevated too quickly. Sub Mendoza, sub 300 on base, not really appealing right now, but a kid who's going to turn into probably a pretty good hitter over time. Ozzy Peraza, again, low end as far as any kind of results in the show, did put up decent numbers through the minors. Once upon a time was a highly regarded prospect. Completely fell apart. We'll see if the Angels can resurrect him. Right now, he's just very cheap at the bottom of the lineup. And then Bryce Teodosio gives a little something for stolen base, but hasn't really delivered at the major league level yet.
The super appealing Rangers, Josh Smith, 34-28, solid table setter at a 335 on base, 103 WRC plus, just doing Josh Smith things out there. The occasional home run, he's got 9 on the season, the occasional stolen base, more of a correlated scoring option than anything else. Wyatt Langford is very interesting, 13% barrels, 15% from Corey Seager, and 12.2 from a very affordable Adolis Garcia back in the cleanup spot now. That's a very solid stretch of power bats, even with some limited results from 2 of those guys, or really all 3 of those guys if you take Seager's expectations into account. But those are still some at least interesting home run totals. They'd be leading the Cardinals. So that's a good stretch of power for very affordable pricing against a very gettable pitcher. 2 of those guys significantly above average for run creation this year, even in down seasons. Wyatt Langford at a 116 WRC plus, Corey Seager at 133, also carrying a 209 ISO, 20 home runs, a 407 WRC xWOBA under the surface. Corey Seager remains an excellent shortstop option. Adolis, again, 35-28. He's running a little bit since coming back. He's hit a couple home runs since coming back in the last few days. It's a very interesting ball player if he can pull anything together to look like himself, and the contact has never changed. He's averaged 30-plus home runs over the last 5 seasons. He's not going to get there this year, but a little stretch to get him to 23, 24 is not out of the question. Jock, still making great contact, masher of bad righties over his entire career. Jock Peterson against this guy, 2,400, 2,600 across sites, is ridiculously cheap. He's up to 6 home runs in 218 plate appearances. It obviously hasn't been a good year for Jock, missed most of the season, but that's a ludicrously good left-handed power bat to throw Jack Kachanowicz for those prices. The same thing is true 2 spots later out of Rowdy Tellez, and Rowdy's been finding his results. 15% barrels, 46.2% hard hits. He's cashed in on 15 home runs in just 256 plate appearances, 229 ISO. That is a good left-handed power hitter to throw at Jack Kachanowicz, and if you can get him a little lower owned because people just don't like Rowdy Tellez for some reason, take advantage. He's very cheap and very, very appealing down there. Josh Young, at worst, a mix and match option with more talent than that from in between those 2 bats. Higgy, upside for power from the catcher spot. He's hit 9 on the season, going back up as far as the power output goes. He's only going to be okay in that department, but he's found the barrel a little bit more lately. And then Alejandro Osuna, cheap mix and match quality option at the bottom spot. Rangers bats, Angels bats. Don't think either pitcher is at all appealing. Speaking of not appealing, the Rockies at a 3-0 implied total against Framber Valdez. Not a good spot for Colorado bats. Looks like we still don't have a Houston lineup. To start, Chase Dollander at 5,000 on DraftKings. You got to at least think about it. Kid's pitched to a 6.91 ERA, a 4.89 xFIP. Nothing good there. 18% strikeouts, 10.6% walk. I get it. 12.7% barrels is ugly. 40.1% hard hit and 88.6 miles an hour of exit velo, given that, are actually pretty well managed. 4.23% home run is very believable on this, but you could also see it come down in an awful hurry if he starts missing some of those big contact events, because that is not a significant exit velocity average against him. 4.89 ERA, again, nothing special there, but significantly lower, 2 full runs lower than the xFIP rather, 2 full runs lower than the ERA. Finding a 9.9% swinging strike rate in his rookie season against Major League hitting. Astros are generally a low strikeout, which is not ideal. It's not a likely spot for him to find success, but I wouldn't rule it out. Again, 3 starts back on the road at St. Louis, 5 innings, just 1 run on 5 hits, 5 strikeouts, 3 walks. The Astros are better than St. Louis, and there's a couple much more threatening hitters than anything that St. Louis is going to throw at him, but that's a decent start. 5 2/3 against the Dodgers at Coors Field. Gave up just 3 earned, only struck out 1 and gave up 2 walks in that game. I'm just cherry picking some decent performances. 2 road starts, 1 at Washington back on June 19th. 6 innings, 2 earned runs, 2 strikeouts, no walk, home run allowed, 6 hits. But again, only 5,000. 6 innings of 3-run ball, 6 hits, 4 strikeouts, 3 walks against the Braves on the road in Atlanta. Gave up a homer in that one as well. Had a very good start at Texas all the way back in May. 6 innings, 7 strikeouts, 2 earned runs on just 1 hit. Probably his best start of the season. Handful of strikeouts in each of the most recent performances. Last 2 came at home at Coors against Arizona and LA. We're just not going to talk about those. I don't think this is a likely spot at all. I am way more invested in the Astros bats at a 5.12 implied total. Again, the home run pick of the day comes from the Astros. We have 3 guys above the magic number and multiple other guys in the 8s and 9s. 7 of the 9 hitters in this lineup are above an 8.5 in the home run model. So there's plenty of power showing. There's plenty of everything showing from the Astros. They're one of the most appealing stacks on the board. But at 5,000, on a day where you're just throwing darts at cheap SP2s, if you're going that route on DK, or you're putting together some of the more expensive, more likely options, he's at least a dart in that quiver. You don't have to throw it. On FanDuel, I wouldn't touch it. There's just enough talent there because the kid is actually a good young pitcher. In 23 starts, 118 innings across high A and double A last year. He had a 2.59 ERA and a 3.24 xFIP. Struck out 33.9% while walking 9.4. And then got bumped up to AAA this season at the beginning of the year. 15 and a 30, made 4 starts at that level. Pitched to a 7.04 ERA and a 5.23 xFIP because that's a PCL team. 23.3% strikeouts, 13.7% walks, just obviously finding his form against a higher level of competition. But I think the talent really shows from that 2024 season as a 22-year-old just in his first pro action. Again, I don't want to sell this too hard. This is not even nearly as good as that Jose Soriano spot from 2 days ago that we were talking about, right? So don't think I'm actually selling this one. I'm just noting how cheap he is for a kid who is likely to go out there and throw 5 innings, and we'll see what the output looks like. Rockies bats against Framber, who is spectacular, are just not a big part of the equation today. Yeah, Framber's had a couple bumps in the road, but they've come against much, much better teams. And that's going to happen here and there. And as we talked about, only one of them was truly ugly. Overall, 3.32 ERA, 3.24 xFIP, 23.5% strikeouts, a 2.4 degree average launch, a 1.38% home run rate. Everything here looks exactly like I would expect Framber Valdez to look at this point in the season. As I mentioned earlier in the show when we talked about it, though, you do get some happenstance there when he has those bad games and puts a few guys on via the free pass. Because he does give up a 46.8% hard hit, 90.8 miles an hour of exit velo. So there are well-struck balls. They just come on such a low launch angle that you're talking about balls through the infield, line drives down the right field line, like I said. That can result in runs when he's giving up the free passes, and that's what happened in some of those recent games. In only one of those games did he give up a home run. So no real concerns whatsoever about Framber against arguably the most gettable team in baseball. And like I said before, if you're taking the home run away from this team and checking them all the way down like that, they don't do anything else particularly well. They strike out a lot. They don't really draw that many walks. They don't sequence well at all. That's a 9-man 312 average on base. And that's pushed up by the 358 that Freeman's putting up. You take him out of the equation, that's a 307. It's a 9-man 89 WRC plus. It's a 21.4% average strikeout rate with several higher end targets than that. Love the upside for Framber today. Return to form, very, very likely. Rockies bats, you're just looking at them as a completely contrarian, target a big swath of the field kind of a play, and they're cheap. What you would expect to get out of this team, though, the home run upside, again, I think Framber mostly takes it away. So you're looking for a bad sequencing team to do some sequencing here. Tyler Freeman would need to be a part of that. 358 on base, 96 WRC plus, solid average, low strikeout, medium walk rate. You could see success there. Brenton Doyle, Hunter Goodman, Jordan Beck, you're mostly just home run hunting with those guys most of the time. If they happen to get on base, they are capable of stealing bases, or 2 of them are, Doyle and Beck. Goodman more just a power bat, but he leads the team with 26 homers and a 251 ISO. Each of those guys strikes out at an aggressive 1-in-4 type clip or higher. Doesn't really draw a good walk rate. Mid, sixes for two of those guys, a 7.8 for the other one. Low end. Low end. Warming Bernabel off to a good start, over 106 plate appearances. He hit 4 home runs, got a 206 ISO, but a 288 xWOBA. Lack of premium contact doesn't really sell me on the power being at all real. He's been low strikeout, low walk so far, so a lot of balls in play, but if he's just grounding out, that doesn't really feed his fantasy points. Ezequiel Tovar striking out at a 23.8% clip. That's significantly down for him. Doesn't really draw walks. Another guy who can drive the ball, but on a low trajectory, we're just dealing with a lot of likely outs. Don't really love it. 7 home runs in 273 chances, but just an 88 WRC plus. Kyle Karros, another young player, off to a good start, over 58 plate appearances. We'll see where it goes. He's been good at getting on base so far. 12.1% is the only double-digit walk rate that Framber's going to have to contend with, but that's small sample. Don't know that stays up that high. Kid's supposed to be good, but not a reason to go really rush off the roster Rockies today. Kyle Farmer, we found some sneaky success with over time, but it's only mix and match quality upside. And then Orlando Arcia has been dead at the plate for the better part of the last 3 seasons. Astros bats, big time option. Off the top, Jeremy Pena, Carlos Correa, Jose Altuve, returned Jordan Alvarez, Christian Walker, Jesus Sanchez. Just a good lineup up and down. We did get that note that Jainer Diaz is not available. Went to the, well, I don't know if he's going on the IL, but he's not apparently in the lineup day to day. Labs doesn't have this one in yet. Oh, change for the Brewers. It is now Aaron Ashby opening for Eric Fede. Quinn Priester won't pitch. Going to pitch on, got a wrist issue going on, pitching on Saturday. Important note there, that's a downgrade for the overall slate. Takes one of the usable mid-board type pitchers off. I would say that also upgrades the opposing Diamondbacks bats quite a bit. So Pena's kind of pricey. 53.34. FanDuel's a little bit slightly relatively cheaper. He's had a good season, 308, 367, 480, a 136 WRC plus. It's getting more and more difficult to argue with. So I'll just take the shares of the decent player, but I would maybe rather start with a cheapo Carlos Correa, 44.29. If you're needing to save a little bit of money, there's nothing wrong with going that route. You also definitely want stacked with both those guys in because they've both been pretty solid. 339 on base for Correa, 109 WRC plus, 10 home runs, hitting the ball pretty squarely. Jose Altuve up to 22 homers, 9 stolen bases, a 117 WRC plus. Jordan Alvarez, just one of the best hitters in baseball, full stop. 5,000 on DK, 3,300. Feels a little bit light. DK did push that price up somewhat one day later, but he's still very affordable for his talent at that price. And he's also the home run pick of the day, by the way. 12.60 in the model. Christian Walker, 41, 3,000 across sites. 19 homers on the board for him, up to a 168 ISO. Kind of pulling things together. He's also just got more support in the lineup with the 2 lefty thumpers on either side. It's an interesting spot for Christian Walker with 10.65 in the home run model. Love the upside for him against Dollander. Jesus Sanchez hits the ball very, very squarely. The results come and go, but he's up to a dozen home runs, a 166 ISO, right at league average for run creation. That's a very solid lefty bat. He's also fairly low strikeout this year while drawing around the same medium walk rate. Diaz apparently not going to be in the lineup. You probably get Victor Caratini there. That's an upside bat with a little bit of premium contact. Not as good as Jainer Diaz in the long term, but a capable bat with a little bit of pop. And then Mauricio Dubon, Jacob Melton down lineup, mix and match quality options across multiple positions for Dubon. Melton, less than just another outfielder. Framber Valdez, Astros bats, and then maybe a couple Chase Dollander darts at 5,000. If I'm building 150 on DK, I would put that in a few times as an SP2, just for the bargain bin nature of it. You've got just as much upside for him there. And again, it's not likely. He's the second lowest ranked pitcher on the board, so be realistic. But is he any less competitive than any of these higher priced guys? I would argue no. He's got just as much ability to win this game and put up an okay score as Kachanowicz does against Texas, Wisenhunt, Savali, Taiwan, Simeon Woods Richardson. I would say Luis Morales probably higher end at 7,000 there. Colin Ray at 67, probably not all that much though. So, I mean, if you're already going to try and save money with one of those low end options, why not go lower and take the $5,000 play and really make something of it? Again, not likely to succeed, not actually a recommendation. Reds, Dodgers. Nick Lodolo, he's put up some undeniably good starts. He's averaging something like 31 FanDuel points an outing. So we are below his seasonal average, but it's going up against the Dodgers. For the season, the active roster has a 121 WRC plus against left-handed pitching this season, getting on base at a collective 335 clip with a 194 ISO against lefties. That is not a good target for a largely mid-class lefty. 3.05 ERA looks great, but a 3.68 xFIP is notably higher. 23.6% strikeouts against 4.6% walks is a dynamite ratio, but as a strikeout rate on its own, that's only slightly above average. 11.1% swinging is very, very good. 27.1% CSW against that is not necessarily. 8.2% barrel, 41.4% hard hit, 89.4 miles an hour of exit velo. All of those numbers, not bad. The hard hits are over our threshold. The other two numbers aren't, but they're also still kind of high. Upper medium, 3.23% home run rate, entirely believable. But good stuff, succeeds. Again, ripping off good starts here and there. 5 1/3, 2 starts back against these Dodgers. Struck out 11. 2 earned runs. That was a stretch of low quality for the Dodgers. He did give up 6 hits in that game, but obviously a very good start. Start before that one against the Nats, complete game shutout, 4-hitter, 8 strikeouts, dynamite. 7 innings of 7 strikeout ball against the Mets. The start before that one, 2 earned runs, 1 home run on the board. Pair of good 6-inning starts prior to that. Really only a couple bumpy ones came early in the season. Been on a good stretch. Last rough outing was 6 earned runs over 3 1/3 back on June 11th at Cleveland. Last time out was just an inning and 2/3 against the Cubbies. I question what we end up with innings-wise coming off of that. That was 2 weeks ago. What did we get in the... DraftKings priced in the gap. FanDuel really did not. Didn't make a rehab start. I'm trying my best not to click on that CBS one. So it was just a blister, which is why I have difficulty really limiting the innings. I'm just looking if there's any kind of reporting. Yeah, I gave him 6. I let him have the 6 that he was pulling, and it's not a good projection. If I had let him get out to 7, which he has been more than capable of, he would look quite a bit better and be projected up, probably not to his average, but closer. But coming off of 2 weeks of not starting, I'm not concerned about the blister. And again, you probably was doing some throwing on the side, but didn't make a rehab. I just question whether we get that 7th. I think 6 is still realistic, but a lot of downside in the spot. At 82 on DraftKings, fire away. That's fine. If you get 6 innings of Lodolo at that price, you're fine. At 10-4 on FanDuel, I'm really struggling with it. Gonna have to be perfect at that price. So, dicey. And again, like, it's been a good season, but there's a lot of averageness going on here that just, even without the blister issue in the missed 2 weeks, I would have trouble paying that price for him against this Dodgers team. You don't have Shohei in the lineup for our purposes for DFS, but he's most certainly going to be hitting at the top of the lineup. So it's not like they're Ohtani-less. They're knocked down the stack rankings a little bit because of that, because it obviously cuts a major piece of their production out of the overall fantasy point average. But man, I don't know about that Lodolo price on FanDuel. I really, really have issues with it. The DraftKings one, again, you're fine. If he goes 6 there, it might not go well. 493 implied total for his opponents, and they've been good against lefties, but at least you're priced at the right level there. Ohtani at 85 at 77, pitching to a 30.2% strikeout against 4.3% walks. That's what we want. 4.61 ERA, but a 2.72 xFIP underneath it. Give up a handful of runs in the last outing. It was 5 earned runs, I think I said. Yeah, 5 earned runs, only lasted 4 innings in that one. That was coming off of pitching into a 5th inning the start before that, 4 1/3. We were excited about it the last time out, but it was at Coors Field last time. So we were tempering expectations, and he got burnt a little bit. I think this one, maybe we get our 5. Maybe we get an upside strikeout day for the cheap pricing. At worst, he's easily on the board with all the garbage there. 8,500, definite upside. 7,700, monster upside, even without the quality start in the books. And I don't think we get a 6th inning. But if you can get to the win bonus on FanDuel at 77 with his strikeout potential against the lineup that's got some strikeout in it, I like that upside. That'll work on a slate like this, especially if you get a day where, let's say Framber and Sonny don't necessarily go bust, but don't perform to their peak. That's a really interesting Shohei Ohtani price. Reds bats against, you're just dealing with, a couple of their low strikeout, put the ball in play type options might be interesting for correlated scoring. And then the more obvious guys, the Elly De La Cruzes of the world, and Noelvi Martes. But even like Austin Hayes, 4,000, 3,000, he's cheap. He's got 11 home runs, 185 ISO, and he's very, very average. There's nothing special about throwing him against Ohtani. 25.8% strikeouts looks like more of a target than a high quality bat to grab. He's affordable. It'll be contrarian to grab any Reds at all, and including Austin Hayes, and that would only make it more so. But that's not a super high quality bat, 6.24 in the home run model. Friedel's just putting the ball in play, but he gets on at a 362 clip. He does provide immediate correlated scoring, and this entire stretch does get on at decent levels. Gavin Lux and TJ Friedel do a lot of the same things, lighter contact, get on base, hit for okay averages, create runs, 107 and 106 WRC plus, separated by the more appealing hitters. Noelvi Martes up to 10 home runs in just 242 plate appearances, made some decent contact, getting on base at a 331 clip, solid 211 ISO, 125 WRC plus. Ellie's got 19 homers, 31 steals, some, lower than expected numbers in some spots, I would say. Just a 180 ISO most notably. But monster upside. If you're going Reds, you're obviously including Elly. Spencer Steer at 36.28 has 16 home runs. One of the more appealing power bats on this pretty mediocre power hitting team. They look a lot like the Cards in the power department. A 161 ISO for Steer in a pretty bad season. 22.4% strikeout is around where we would expect to find him, but walks have been cut a little bit this season. Premium contact is not all that good despite the 16 homers. So just a mid-board type player at best. Ke'Bryan Hayes does make decent contact at the plate, sees nothing for it. Jose Trevino, not much of a hitter, and Matty McLean is just underperforming his talent overall. Decent, okay-ish for counting stats considering how cheap he's gotten, but you're also dealing with a 9-hitter more often than not. If he was that cheap up here, he'd be a more interesting bat. Dodgers side, you don't get Shohei, but he is in the lineup to do his thing and help this team create and score runs. So, you have to consider him as being there while rostering Mookie and Will and so on and so forth. But it's a definite downgrade DFS-wise. 14 home runs, 8 stolen bases for Mookie, and 95 WRC plus in a bad season. He's gotten pretty cheap, 44.33. You just want to play the upside of the lineup spot on a day where they ought to be scoring some runs. I think that's doable. Will Smith at 48.34 has 16 home runs. Tremendous option at the catcher spot. Freddie Freeman, dynamite first baseman, 49.35 across sites. 302, 373, 501 year from Freddie with 141 WRC plus. Teoscar Hernandez, one of the better right-handed power bats. Definitely a hitter you could throw at Nick Lodolo. Look to cash in on some of the premium contact that ought to be available here. 21 home runs on the season for Hernandez. Pages at 23 home runs is another interesting righty from down lineup. The premium contact numbers have slipped a little bit overall for Pages, but he's putting up a good, solid season across the board. 194 ISO, 117 WRC plus. Alex Call's a hitter who can find success against lefties. That was his thing in Washington. 275, 372, 395, 4 home runs on the board in 280 plate appearances. A reasonable option in the outfield for cheap pricing. Enrique Hernandez and Miguel Rojas down lineup, mix and match quality options across multiple positions. Both guys playable. You probably want one, not both, in any given Dodgers stack. Dodgers bats. Ohtani. Nick Lodolo on DraftKings. Reds bats. Nick Lodolo on FanDuel. I just object to that price. A couple lineups came in, but neither was from this game. Colin Ray, 67, 8,000. Another fairly low-end pitcher. 3.96 ERA, but a 4.56 xFIP, sub 20%. Strikeout dramatically sub 20%. Plenty of premium contact available against. Over the mark, over the mark, over the mark. Lucky to be at 3.56% home runs. That said, on a very bad pitching slate, he's slightly more capable than some of the other options. He projects out slightly better than some of those sub 25 FanDuel, sub 12 point DraftKings options. Going up against a gettable enough Giants lineup in a pitcher friendly park could help him a little bit, but they are pulling a 4.10 implied total against. There's plenty of quality in that Giants lineup. Some of them are showing some quality upside. I would probably prefer Giants bats to Colin Ray. And then the Cubbies go in the other direction at a 4.49 implied total against Carson Whisenhunt in his fifth start. He struck out only 16.3 while walking 11.3, 4.91 ERA, 5.33 xFIP, loads of premium contact so far, a 6.25% home run rate. He was supposed to be good at limiting home runs, and he has been the opposite so far. I think we fire away with Cubs bats. Seems like Whisenhunt needs a little bit more seasoning down in the minors. So we're just looking bats in this one. But if you need a cheap pitcher and somebody dared you to play somebody from San Francisco today, it would be Colin Ray. If the Cubs go with this lineup, Nico Horner from the top spot, solid on base and correlated scoring option, if nothing else, decent hit tool, 23 stolen bases. He's provided some good, runs and ribbies across the board this season. Neither of those is predictive. He'd be more of a correlated scoring, just put the ball in play type guy from up there. Maybe you get a stolen base bonus. Kyle Tucker, major power, stolen base upside, excellent option for getting on base, a 135 WRC plus. Could be honestly a little bit higher. In some ways, Tucker has underperformed his talent level that we've seen in years past, but excellent ability to draw a matching walk and strikeout rate each of the last 3 years. Not exactly, but you get me. 10.3% barrel and 40% hard hit. I think that's where we've slipped a little bit. The home run total is a little bit light in 556 plate appearances, but we're quibbling. He is obviously excellent. Seiya Suzuki down to 43.39. DraftKings has noticed the dip. FanDuel really has not. 27 home runs, 234 ISO, but he's gotten, 2 home runs since the All-Star break, and really poor performance since then. Needs to pick it up. Still a good bat. Still somebody I would want to put into stacks and do when I go to the Cubs, and will today. But gotten a little bit more problematic at that FanDuel price, the most expensive hitter on the team on FanDuel. Justin Turner, if he's hitting cleanup today, mix and match quality at 2,400, really has done nothing so far this season. That would be an oddball in the lineup. We do see Turner from time to time against left-handed pitching, for sure. Doesn't look like we've gotten this confirmed yet, unfortunately. If he's there, he's okay to play at cheap pricing, but he's not all that desirable. Carson Kelly's much more appealing at the catcher spot, especially he only costs $39 where you have to play the position. 13 home runs on the board. Hitting ahead of Ian Happ, who's super interesting with 16 home runs at 329 on base, 103 WRC plus, and a significant 354 xWOBA that shows the underlying quality of Ian Happ. He's underperformed the talent and the expectations this year, but it hasn't been overly bad considering that the things he does well are still showing up a little bit, especially that 13.3% walk. Pete Crow Armstrong has hit a little bit of a slide. We looked at it yesterday, 4,800, 3,600, price down slightly from his peak while still being expensive. I think that's fair. 28 home runs, 31 stolen bases. Sub 300 on base is probably your most concerning thing so far right now. 254 ISO still holding up. The 334 xWOB is encouraging that everything will return to form. Just a little bit of a dip for a still young player who had an outrageous first 5 months of the season. Dansby Swanson at 4,000, 3,000, 18 homers, 10 steals, 95 WRC plus because he's also slipped below 300 for on base, but a very high-end shortstop in terms of premium contact, ability to hit home runs, contribute across all 4 major scoring categories. And then Matty Shaw, a mix and match quality option at the bottom of the lineup if he's in there. If you're looking Giants batch, which I think are very much in play, you've got a couple solid options for power through the middle. You've got Matt Chapman a couple spots later. So Rafi Devers, absolute priority. 25 home runs on the season, a 209 ISO, 130 WRC plus. Still a very, very dangerous, deadly lefty hitter. Still making excellent premium contact overall for the season. Elliot Ramos makes very, very good contact as well from the right side. 15 home runs for him, a 337 on base, a 111 WRC plus. One of the more significant run creators, and you get him at a very cheap price. He's also hit a little bit of a slowdown, but 8.71 in the home run model. Against Colin Ray, there should be enough contact available and enough ability to make premium contact that these guys should be able to deliver. Young-Hoo Lee, more of a line drive correlated scoring type option, but very playable from the top spot. Very low strikeout option to throw at Colin Ray to start things off. Willie Adames found the power stroke a little bit. He's up to 22 home runs, 182 ISO. He's gotten himself up to a 103 WRC plus after that atrocious first half of the season. 12.8% barrel. Those never really went away. Dom Smith, more contact-oriented hitter. He's fine, but he's not overly appealing, not a priority. I'd much rather have Matt Chapman, and you're definitely taking Rafi Devers over Dom Smith at first base more often than not. Chapman, 10% barrels, 49% hard hits, 17 home runs, 9 stolen bases in only 416 plate appearances, 339 on base. You don't worry about the batting average with a hitter like Chapman. He draws plenty of walks. He gets on base at a very solid level, 200 ISO, 119 WRC plus. Underrated player. He's underpriced as well at 36 on DK, 3,000 on FanDuel, also cheap. Patty Bailey, Casey Schmidt, Drew Gilbert, down lineup, mix and match quality so far. 9 home runs in 251 out of Casey Schmidt makes him probably the most interesting guy down there. 107 WRC plus, a solid 341 xWOB under the surface. He's been hitting the ball pretty squarely. He's not uninteresting, but he's also not a priority. I would say the top 6 are your priorities here from Giants, and then you mix and match maybe one of those guys in if you need to cheapen up an already pretty cheap lineup. If you just go, let's say 2 down, 2 through 6, that's 38.40 a man to target Colin Ray with Rafi Devers, Elliot Ramos, Willie Adames, and Matt Chapman. I'll take Dom Smith out of the mix, and I'll give you back Young-Hoo Lee at the top because I prefer him. And we're at 38.80. And you also can't do both first basemen, by the way. So 38.80 is your correct one. I'm glad I noticed that. You could make it even cheaper by including one of the bottom 3 there. But that's kind of an interesting, I can't imagine they're very popular to target Colin Ray. Oh. Low single digit ownership, basically everybody below 5% FanDuel. I imagine pretty similar on DK. The highest owned guy on DK is the leadoff hitter. He's the only guy in double digits. Everybody else at best half that, which is a little funny because out of like those guys, the guys I highlighted for the stack, Young-Hoo Lee, the highest owned player, is by far the least appealing. So that's a little weird. You're just looking to pick off a couple base hit and correlated scoring type points if you're rostering Lee. But how about that? I like that stack. That's kind of interesting. On FanDuel, I would just go, 1, 2, 3, and leapfrogging to Chappie and grabbing the 4 easy ones, and you're at 31.50. That works also on FanDuel, but I think it's more appealing as a 5-man on DK. I like that as a sneaky spot because Colin Ray really isn't that good. Still Cubs bats up top, but it's Cubs bats, Giants bats. And then if you're playing a pitcher from this game, it's Colin Ray, but it looks like more of a target to me. Rounding things out in the bandbox out in Sacto. I think we got one of these lineups in. A's lineup is in. Tigers lineup is not. So quality pitching in this one. Casey Mize, 7,800, 9,100, differently priced across sites, far more appealing on DraftKings. Comes in with a 3.68 ERA, but he's pushed up to a 4.07 xFIP now. 20.9% strikeout against 6.1% walk is an okay ratio. It's not exactly a good ratio, but it's all right. But as a strikeout rate, that is not a great strikeout rate. Inducing a 10% swinging strike rate, did have that weird 10 strikeout game 2 starts ago, but more lately has been in the 3, 4, 5 range for K's. He's okay, but he's in a lot of trouble here in this ballpark against all these home run hitters. He's given up a 3.24% home run that's come on 42.5% hard hits, just under the exit velo threshold, just under the barrel threshold. Tough spot for Casey. Even if I hadn't cut him from the dynasty team over the weekend, and since Evaldi got hurt, I might pick him back up for, he's a member of the team. We need him. But I wouldn't have been starting him in this spot. On the other side, Luis Morales, 23.8% strikeout rate out of the shell, 1.72 ERA is dynamite, but a 4.48 xFIP is probably your more realistic number, especially when it comes with a 12.7% walk. Too many opportunities, too many guys on base. Hasn't really found his form as far as fully punching guys out via swinging strikes. 24.1% CSW explains some of the walk rate, but that's an okay strikeout rate. The problem would come in the premium contact that he's allowed so far. Pretty lucky to be at just 1.59% home runs in the small sample so far. The kid's got talent for sure. In the minors, 14 starts, 23 outings, 89 and a third. He had a 29.2% strikeout rate with a 9.6% walk this season. Was pitching to a 3.73 ERA, but a 4.03 xFIP. So I think around a 4 and change type expectation. He's still only 22 years old and still just figuring things out. I think that would be the ongoing expectation, with maybe some strikeouts, but some walk issues going along with it. And if we find him in different spots at 7,000, at 7,500, we might well be talking about him as a cheap option. But against the Tigers team that's been pretty good all season long, that's got a decent amount of thunder through the middle, that's also playing in this bandbox, it's pulling a 5.5 implied total to lead the slate. I think we're just looking bats. Tigers have home runs up and down the lineup. They've got a lot of good options for getting on base, providing correlated scoring. The one guy in the heart of the lineup who's not really putting up a okay on base number, 299 on base for Kerry Carpenter. It's probably their best overall power bat. 22 home runs in 378 plate appearances, a monster 12.8% barrel, 45.3% hard hit, a 257 ISO. Dude's just a great power hitter from the left side. So we'll forgive the sub 300 on base. Everybody else, in addition to their power, has also been getting on base. 343 on base up top for Colt Keith. Dozen home runs on the board for him. Just a 169 ISO, but there's more power yet to emerge for him. 9.2% barrel and 44.7% hard hit. Don't be surprised next year when Colt Keith is sitting around 22 to 25 home runs around this time of the season. 117 WRC plus. He's been very good for them this year. Glaber at 46, 3,000. Very affordable. Getting on base at a 361 clip, creating runs like crazy. He's got 14 home runs. Capable of driving the ball, capable of hitting it out of the park. More interesting for the super low strikeout, very high walk rate. Kerry Carpenter I talked about, but Riley Green, just as good a power bat, 17.5% barrels, 32 home runs in more plate appearances, a 249 ISO. And then you get to Spencer Torkelson, 28 home runs from him, 235 ISO, monster premium contact from the right side. Winfield Perez, the switch hitter, we don't want to skip him, 11 home runs in just 270 opportunities, 218 ISO. Really paying off the power quite nicely, 8.8% barrels. He's slipped below 40% hard hits. Something to watch there because this is a big uptick year over year, but he's been really good all season long, 19.3% strikeout to boot. McKinstry's been super interesting, 11 home runs, 19 stolen bases, a 183 ISO, 119 WRC plus. The 307 xWOBA is the concern there. Doesn't come with a ton of premium contact, so you can see it slipping very, very quickly if he loses a little bit of BABIP, a little bit of happenstance. But he's been really good. He's been a good correlated scorer for DFS. A little more expensive at 43 than 29 with 4 positions on FanDuel. More interesting on the blue side, super playable on both. Dylan Dingler was out of the lineup last night, assuming we get him back today. 9% barrels, 44.9% hard hits, 11 home runs and 378 chances. Been a really interesting catcher, and he's only 3,600 in this ballpark. And then Trey Sweeney filled in yesterday for Javi Baez. 2,600, 2,500 across sites, 6 home runs. A lot of prospect pedigree there. Hasn't really fully landed at the major league level, but not uninteresting at cheap pricing if you just need the option down lineup. And then closing things out with these A's, again, another day at a 5+ implied total in this quote-unquote home park of theirs. Kurtz at the top, 5,800, 4,200, 27 home runs in 385 plate appearances, just ridiculous. Fire away with shares of Kurtz. Langalier's in the 2 spot now, 5,100, 3,700, 29 home runs for him. A dynamite season where he's cut strikeout. He's back below 20%. I need him to stay there. Not like I got money on it, but I just want him to stay there. 281 ISO, more to the point, though, a 129 WRC plus, lot of thunder from the catcher. He's high priced now, but well worth it. He's been great this year. Brent Rooker has 26 home runs, a 222 ISO, 125 WRC plus. Soderstrom with 23 home runs, a 203 ISO, a 125 WRC plus. All those guys are hitting for decent to good batting average. All those guys are getting on base pretty effectively. You get to Lawrence Butler, you see a little bit of a dip in some of the output, but he still put up good counting stats across all four major categories. Right? Those are not bad numbers in 529 plate appearances. 174 ISO is below expectation. I would say so is the 300 on base, the 226 average. We haven't got enough consistency out of him. Striking out a little bit too much, not walking quite enough, while still having a pretty decent walk rate. Just a 91 WRC plus, nowhere near expectation, but still hits the ball with authority from the left side for a cheap price in the outfield. Has multi-category skills. That is not a bad option to include in your A stacks, and probably going to be a little bit less popular than some of his buddies. Darryl Ernaiz, one of these days I'll say it without stumbling, 11.7% strikeout, 10.7% walk, putting up an adequate slash line at 261, 333, 86, a pair of home runs. Not much of a power bat, more correlated scoring guy. We'll see where he ends up in the long term, but for lack of a Jacob Wilson in this lineup today, you can have him fill that role if you wanted. JJ Bleday, mix and match quality this season, 10 home runs, just a 301 on base. You slide a little bit down toward the bottom here, but you've got Brett Harris at a cheap price, mix and match quality, and then Zach Geloff, who was very good a season ago, very cheap at 3,000 at 2,200, sneaking back into the lineup at second base. It's not a bad option as a late lineup play for no money. Got on at just a 270 clip last year, though, so not a great wraparound. Year before was 337. So really, I guess, depends on which version of him shows up today. But in the larger sample that we kind of have to lean toward, was worse for on base. Did have a bunch of interesting counting stats, though. Tigers bats, A's bats, Casey Mize, Luis Morales. Really would look for other options on the mound, though. Not likely to go in the pitcher's direction in this one. And that's it, gang. Bumpy, messy show, but a lot of fun. Hopefully you guys got something out of it. Apologies for that unexpected delay in the middle. Hopefully everybody got what they needed. We did have everybody, look like a bunch of people return. So I just appreciate the hell out of that. The fact that you guys hung out and didn't jump to another channel, it means something to me. So really appreciate it. Best audience in the industry. You guys absolutely rock out there. Hit the like button. Subscribe to the website if you get a chance. Pull up rotoscouts.com. Promo code KICKOFF. Gets you a $15 first month on a monthly plan. So that means if you use that today or sometime in the next week ahead of opening day for football season, you get the month of September for 50 cents a day. Half our usual or around half our usual price. It's 33% off of a monthly. Usually we're a little bit under $1 a day. Now you're at 50 cents a day for all of September for football and baseball. You get access to anything else that hits that site. If I decide to project a random U.S. Open day in next week, which I won't, but if I did, you'd get that too. So check out rotoscouts.com. $5 weekly is still running for the next couple of days. Promo code for that one is 5me. Promo code KICKOFF for the $15 monthly. So give that a look. Check out our guys over at acemind.io as well. Those guys do great work for optimizers and sims, so give them a look. Promo code rotoscouts over there, all in caps, get you 20% off your first month. Subscribe to the channel here on YouTube. Jump into our free premium Discord, which is linked in the description below. And good luck out there tonight. Somebody go win something. Share those results when you do at Rotoscouts on Twitter or in that free Discord. And we'll be back tomorrow for, I hope, a smaller slate, to be honest. 3 big ones to start the week. Getaway day tomorrow should be a shorter one. We'll see what time the slates fall, but we'll be here to cover it one way or the other. Go get them, gang. See you.